the arena.
We're
Let's
live,
go.
coming to you live on Monday, 10th of August. Look at my new cap.
Looks good. They're actually pretty fresh.
From the Corgi Cafe, man.
I'm a fan. I
All
should
the cool kids
have
are
come.
hanging.
I should have come by.
All the cool kids are hanging out. Max came, our new intern, came to the Corgi Cafe, met a bunch of people. Some people thought he was Luke, because they look kind of similar. A lot of people were a bit...
So let's do that. Max, can you come over here just quickly?
Let's just get a side-by-side face shot.
But I need a haircut, so everyone, don't say anything.
He's got the warrior cut right now.
Just come here. Come here.
It's big bro, little bro.
Do it pretty similar, don't we?
You guys look incredibly similar.
I used to get out in the sun though. This guy's like tan maxing me.
Well, he's tan maxing at the Corgi
being
Cafe.
mobbed. Sam, we can move the camera away from
we are back. It's Monday.
We haven't taken any holidays. We've been working for 3 weeks. No holidays.
Everyone's on holiday in Europe. Everyone's on holiday apart from us. Welcome back to the show. It is another week. It's another week in paradise. There's so much to discuss. Thankfully, we were just in time to pick up Meta's philosophy, just dropped by the Zuck.
Indeed.
They've come out with a bunch of new announcements. There's a particular quote in there that I really like, and we can get into that. And it's more of a philosophical debate around pushing the frontier forward. Why would one do this if they believe in true doomerism? Is that an end goal that you want to reach? If that's what you believe, why are you trying to pursue that goal? But a bunch of different offshoots and different debates that you could pick up off the back of that. But before we start, let me bring up the Airworks agenda just to share with you guys. Who do we have on today? Let's get on the big screen. Alex Stephany, CEO of Beam, joining us at 1:30 to chat AI and welfare. Following that, we've got Steve Ho, Head of Research at Silicon Data. A bunch of different stuff to get into with him. The relationships between China, US, UK, China's funding cycles, the future of compute being an asset class.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a good combo.
Going to be a really good chat. And then 2:15, we've got Johann, Kerbrat, SVP and GM of Crypto and International at Robinhood. They have just announced that they're coming to the UK. A load more to dig into with him. And then all of our other guests are on holiday.
Indeed. Let's talk about Airworks. Lead by data business banking behind with Airworks, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all-in-one platform. Go to airworks.com.
Before we do jump in, just a quick review of the Corgi Cafe.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Obviously, me and Max, chief intern, were on the ground there. We were doing an investigative report into the Corgi Cafe coming to London. We got there pretty early. We went down early just to meet a few of the team. They've done phenomenal work over there. Shout out to Josh, shout out to Claudia. They've managed to spin this thing up in about 3 weeks. They've also dropped some hints about what's happening in the future. I can't share it live on air because although it wasn't mentioned during the conversation that was an embargoed conversation, off the record is off the record sometimes.
You're a journalist,
they didn't say
embargoed, and then you said, I'm not a journalist.
It was similar to that. It wasn't said. There was just more of a dual social understanding of what was going on in the conversation.
We tend to chat to people and accidentally put it live on X every day.
That is also true. It was a secret conversation. You will find out more about that. We are also launching our investigative report into the Corgi Cafe. That will be coming out this week. Make sure you're around for that.
Any hot takes?
You're going to have to see. You're going to have to see and find out. Obviously, Max was leading the investigation, chief intern at ETN, doing a phenomenal job. A lot of people were a little bit confused because they'd obviously seen the launch graphic of Max on X, where he does look incredibly wham. And then to meet him in person, there were. We've
actually kind of like nerfed him accidentally. People would be excited to see him and then think, oh,
we had to nerf him. We had to nerf our intern. He was too hench.
He's too good.
I said when he joined on his first day, Max welcomed me to my own company. The intern said that. So we had to nerf Max. He was too powerful. There was a call for a global pause on Max the intern. Rumors of him rivaling the size of Chaton Fat. And then he's met in person at the Corgi Cafe. The rumors were dispelled, but there's more to come on that, and you can find our investigative report, which will drop on our X account this week. So you should look forward to that. It's going to be an interesting one.
Apparently Ryan Hoover was there, which we thought was true, but turns out wasn't.
I thought it was Ryan Hoover.
You got us because you tagged him, and we thought that picture was him, and then we realized this morning that it wasn't. because it was, it was
But
someone else.
the guy looked incredibly familiar, though.
He did.
Could have sworn
he
I'd
did
met him
kind of. I mean, that's
somewhere.
probably why Ryan Hoover was kind of pulled into the conversation. Then I saw Ryan Hoover commented on Nerd's post and said, "Hey, I've never been down there before. That's not me, basically." So
gotta get down.
public call out to Ryan to go down to the Coffee Cafe, give the people what they want, and then you can come stop by the office as well in the studio and come
and you can also get
come and
yourself
chill.
some of this merch. It has a nice logo on the back, caffeinated and covered. It is of the corduroy variety, a nice brown, complemented by the corgi orange, as you can see.
That's good.
Quite the fan. Out of all the cap merch that we've got, I think
Got
this
a lot of
is
caps.
it's up there with Nominal.
No way.
Well,
Nominal.
base as
Shout
well,
out to Nominal. Please, can you send us more caps? Because I wear that cap more than any other cap.
It's a
in
good
my
cap.
wardrobe.
It's a good cap.
And I have a lot of caps.
I like the cap.
It is. No cap.
Anyway, let's get into the news. This has just dropped. This is basically breaking news. Well, it's not basically breaking news. It is breaking news. It's literally just hit the timeline about an hour ago. Meta has dropped their "The future is for everyone." Meta's philosophy. This came again from Musk, from Zuck's X account, which is another sign that he's back in the arena and he loves it. He's happy to be here. He's enjoying himself. He's getting great reception from people. The timeline is
it's like unbelievably positive from the Zuck team right now, and the discourse around what's happening with Meta and where they are in the kind of frontier race. Unbelievably positive. They're doing an incredible job over there. So congrats to them. Let's dive deep into the future is for everyone. What does that mean?
So, quick precursor on this. Mark came out and said this is 11:01. So, merely an hour ago, he comes out and says, "I believe everyone should have access to superintelligence." And I wrote a long piece about Meta's philosophy and values for building a positive future for everyone. This is the piece. Literally, seconds after that. He also said, "Today we're also opening the Weights for Muse Glimmer, a great 30 billion parameter dense model that can run locally." So it's the local models coming out. Soon we'll also release the Weights for Muse Spark 1.2, our latest foundation model. Meta is a strong supporter of open source, and I'm proud of these releases. Congrats to Alexandra Wang and the MSL team for all your great work on these. Comments flooding in from the timeline. Yan Lee Kun says, "Good move, full stop, bravo, triple clap emoji." Nick says, "Based Zuck with 2 C's. We knew you would deliver." So 2 very happy people, 2 people that you want to keep happy on the timeline, Yan Lee Kun and also the anonymous Nick. You will have seen frequent the show quite a lot recently. We're quite enjoying our dialogue with Nick. He's a great guest. He has great takes. So we salute you, sir. Thank you for your work. But let's get into it. The future is for everyone. The path to a positive AI future. This is Meta's recent philosophy on AI as of this morning. We are fortunate to live in an incredible moment in history. In the next few years, people will be able to use superintelligence beyond human capacity to create and discover extraordinary new things, build new businesses, express new ideas, learn new concepts, and advance our health and quality of life. As we get closer to this moment, it is important to develop a philosophy for how we can best use superintelligence to ensure it improves all of our lives, work, communities, freedom, and safety. Now, very, very quickly, the tone of the article is incredibly positive. You can see that Meta are taking potentially a strategic position against the doomerism that has not only sort of been effervescing out of Anthropic from their chief spokesperson, Dario, who seems to be doing less commentating recently, unless it's through like a leaked source, as Axios picked up the other day with his concerns about loyalty. But that seems to have spread further around. I think Sam was picking up elements of a doomerish tone. They've done a great job kind of spinning OpenAI's narrative a little bit more into the positive side.
They're building for humanity is their kind of...
Building for humanity, right? A much nicer, softer...
but it feels...
Does it feel artificial?
It's a great intelligence.
Point. It's a great point. Artificial intelligence. Love that from you. That was very quick. AI. Gemini, where are they? We've obviously been covering what's going on with them recently. They've not taken a specific stance on the doomerism stuff, but people aren't.
What's going on internally is pretty doomer right now.
It's pretty doomer internally. As we know. It's pretty doomer externally. Yeah, pour one out. One out for the boys over there at DeepMind.
Yeah. But Meta, on the other hand,
They are
Mark
cooking.
Zuckerberg is absolutely smashing it.
So what is the philosophy? We propose a philosophy based on individual empowerment as the source of prosperity, invention as the primary purpose of superintelligence, and balance of power as the foundation of safety. All new technologies create opportunities and challenges. Superintelligence will be among the most important technologies in history, so its opportunities and challenges will likely be greater than any we've seen in our lifetime. We should take this very seriously. And now we get into a really interesting part, personally my favorite part of the article here, and it's a position that we've seen Zuck hinting at previously. I keep getting Musk confused because it's like Mark, but then his second name is Zuck, so it's like Muck. You know what I mean? Musk. Mark takes this position that he hinted at previously in his previous release when he first kind of came back onto X, of this more positive outlook, but also positive stance. There are connotations and a connection to the open source push as well. That's a more AI is for everyone. AI is not expensive. AI is not controlled by a central source. It's that more sort of decentralization sort of angle, which naturally has positive connotations because it's not like centralized.
Well, decentralized, kind of a route for prosperity, a route for opportunity. Yeah. Everyone has access to this thing. It's it can create abundance for anyone who kind of uses it.
Yeah, 100%. And his position really speaks throughout this, and you can argue whether it's strategic or not. There is obviously reasons why someone would want to take this stance, but he says, still, it is surprising that the discourse from many developing AI is so filled with doom. I do not understand why anyone who believes that AI will eliminate most jobs and much of humanity's relevance would rush to build that future. The notion that AI is so dangerous that the only safe path is an extreme concentration of power seems inherently problematic. Historically, hoping that an absolute power will benevolently provide humanity, if sufficiently enlightened, has not led to safe or positive outcomes. That, for me, is the most interesting part of the article, because it's by proxy, if you take the comments from other lab leaders, let's use Dario as the main example because of his doomerism takes, which is so consistent. He's kind of saying that if you do genuinely believe that the end goal is doomerism, and I think Dario has been quoted with around like a 20% chance, 1 in 5 is pretty high for the end of humanity. Yeah. Right? That's not that's a pretty worrying statistic. Yeah. Coming from, an incredibly credible source, one of the only people on Earth who can maybe give such a defined take and have it carry weight. It's essentially saying, indirectly there, then if you do believe that it is going to cause the end of the world and you continue to work on it, you then either by proxy have to have some area of your mission that is ending the world, right? There is obviously an 80% chance with Dario's sort of parameters that he's outlaying that it will not end the world, and that 80% it's worth risking how amazing the world will become and how much prosperity there'll be and how much people will grow.
But it's the risk. That's the main thing, right? Regardless of how big the risk is, whether it's 2%, 20%, it's you're still playing the risk game, the risky game. But with Mark's stance, it's very much this is obviously there are things to manage, and he kind of mentions avoiding kind of government tyranny and all of this kind of stuff, and how do we control superintelligence? So there's obviously elements of risk in there, which is very natural. But it's from a different kind of stance to what most of the lab leaders have kind of been pushing towards. Now, Demis hasn't really been too vocal on this whole topic. I don't think he really liked talking about it anyway.
He's more focused about attending the Corgi Cafe, which he recently came out and announced off the back of my tweet.
He's locked in on the Corgi Cafe.
Quick one on that, very quickly, because I did tweet that out on the show, and I said on the show live, watch this. This will get 100,000 views. And if we could just get a check on this post, let me just quickly find it.
It wasn't a runner as well. Oh, you've got it up straight away. Let's
176,000 views.
Let's go.
So I told you, that is the meta. You attach an old meme format to a trending news story and you'll get over 100,000 views. Called it on the show live. There we are, 176K. Obviously, there was some help because Demis did reply, I'll be there, Not this weekend though, which Brooke pushed, and then I had some sort of existential crisis where I just pushed back the frontier of AGI
by inviting him to a cafe,
by getting Demis down to the core guy cafe. Hopefully not. Hopefully he's still locked in on isomorphic labs.
Maybe he's more vocal when he does go to the Corky Cafe. You never know.
Maybe
But he hasn't been to when he was at Davos. It was like
sorry. How are we even talking about this being a thing? Why is Demis and Sarvis going to the Corky Cafe?
If he does go there, that's like a generational run for Corgi.
What timeline are we in, man?
They've smashed GTM if they get Demis over at the Corgi Cafe. Yeah. That's like generational run for them. So congrats to them if they can make that happen.
Congrats to them.
I'm sure they're all in his DMs trying to make it happen. And he's thinking, oh God, what
he's gonna go.
What kind of worms have I opened here?
He said I'll be there. I trust it. I think he's a man of his word, Demis.
He is.
I think he'll be there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, he fought a 3.5-4 year legal battle with Facebook to keep with Google to keep DeepMind in London, right?
He's a man of principles.
He's a man of principles. He knows what he wants and he goes and gets it. So if he wants to go to the Corky Cafe, I'm sure he will be there. He will go and get it.
It's going to be a crazy.
He's a go-getter.
We'll have to send out Chief Intern Max to report live from the Corky Cafe. I'm
reporting
outside
live.
Here.
Imagine he comes back and just said, "I thought you were massive."
You're nowhere near as hench as I thought.
Yeah, go away.
Get out of my face, you liar.
What were we talking about? We were talking about the narrative between.
Yeah.
So. Demis hasn't really he didn't really like talking about this kind of stuff, right? Like I remember at Davos the conversation with Dario, and they're talking about the speed of AI and all the risks and everything. And obviously Dario's I remember thinking back then like it was pretty prompty from Dario to be talking about this kind of stuff, and it almost felt like a kind of mellower tone from Demis. So let's like kind of push that aside. Obviously, Dario's kind of pushing this like high risk, everything that they did, whether it was a marketing stunt or not, but with Mythos, and it's now being coined a term, kind of like a Mythos level model, right? So like it clearly worked. It was like a huge, an incredible marketing push for what they wanted to push as a narrative. Similar to OpenAI, they obviously have this kind of very strong narrative. And now you've got this kind of like voice of reason that we said last week, when Zuck came back on X as like this voice of reason. And to be honest, I think they're doing an incredible job of like, kind of they released a very good model and everyone said, wow, like Muse is like actually hitting the benchmarks. They're like now almost like basically back in this race again. Yeah. Or like they're definitely part of the conversation. And then last week we called, I reckon they'll open source that thing. What did they do half an hour ago? They open sourced it because he's playing this kind of voice of reason, and this AI is an abundance creator. It can do incredible things. Yes, there are risks, but he's spinning the kind of negative risks on a kind of like a positive light. Yep. He's doing a very, very good job of that. Yep. And now it's just open source the model to allow more abundance and cheaper models and cheaper intelligence and everything else.
They're catching a great wave.
They are indeed catching a great wave.
Point on that, I think, just not to go back to Demis, but it is connected to this tomorrow. I think we'll start to see Demis be a bit more outspoken on X. Now the reins are a little bit off. Not off, but not off on paper and in the comms, but I'm already feeling that. I mean, the Corky Cafe thing alone is just hilarious.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
It's very
on Demis.
Yeah, it's not like CEO Demis. It's more like President chill Demis. I'm on my break. What's up? I'm going to go to the Corky Cafe.
I'm going to go do some research.
I'm here for that Demis. I'm here for that Demis. And Indeed. Mark aligns this.
And I'm sure he'll go and, whether he, because there was obviously this discourse over the weekend, whether like it's been in the works. He kind of wanted to remove himself from Google, like quite kind of like over a long period of time. And it's been like hey, like we can't just like remove both of you guys, and that would just like tank the stock price. So it's kind of been like this, over time, let's like phase it out. And whether he goes and starts a new company, because obviously like we were talking about on Friday about the shift of, DeepMind was obviously being driven from London, and now it's being like pulled straight back to SF, and like that's where like the frontier models are being built, and that's where the decisions are being made. And obviously that's pretty sad, but I think we can remain positive that Demis will probably go and start a some form of lab or research institute or whatever it is from London. I think he remains very bullish about that.
He's got the knowledge. Got the knowledge to do it.
Indeed, he does.
Speaking of knowledge, let me tell you about Polymarket. It's the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. On that note, we can tie this just very last point on the meta philosophy piece. An integral part of this is invention, not automation, will be the greatest contribution of superintelligence. Early AI could answer questions and do routine work. Soon it will increasingly help discover new knowledge, ranging from discovering new drugs to cure a family's members' disease to finding new ways to improve your business. I feel like we are on the cusp right now, and potentially this is what people are defining as the singularity. We are on the cusp of a transition from we're using AI to make the things we know and have and have experience with are human-bound inventions. I feel like we're crossing that border now into a realm of which where we will see new discoveries purely based from AI and unlocking that superintelligence, right? Like things that the human brain cannot even sort of fantasize of even thinking about. We aren't capable of achieving this higher power because we are bound by the limits of human.
Yeah.
And Michael Ovitz actually sat down from CAA, sat down with David Senra yesterday. They released this episode. It's about only like an hour long on.
Really?
Yeah, really good.
I did not know that.
On Senra's podcast, and Senra's kind of grilling him. He's very interested in AI, and he's working like harder than he ever has before. He's telling David, and there's a really interesting anecdote within that where he mentions that even his friends that work at the intersection of like biology and AI or chemistry and AI that have sort of been researching their whole life around passing new drugs through basically, or discovering new drugs or creating new drugs to help cure cancer. The contrast in research projects pre-AI were typically taking between about 5 years to get something where you could start seeking approval for it to be like worked on properly. And his friend has been working on 4 projects over the last 5 years, and all 5 of them are kind of just like slowly, getting better and better, but it's been 5 years to get that work done. The first projects that they've started working on AI 9 months ago are already surpassing a level of development compared to the pre-AI project. So I do think we're starting to enter this world. I do think that that's what Demis is personally the most cited about, obviously, with his
well, that was the big push that they tied it to, right? It was like, it's getting close enough that I can kind of give the reins to someone else on the business side, and go and actually focus on the research. Now AGI is close enough. Yeah, regardless of whether Gemini is there or not, and what they're doing with Gemini in terms of a commercialization thing or a pushing the frontier thing, whether they're two tied together, it's kind of all up in the air. But what we know is Demis stays strong to as well, and is going for the research.
And faster, just like our friends over there at Framer.
Yeah,
build better sites, faster. All-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build, and ship bricks-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. We have hosted our site on Framer here at ETN. Go and check it out.
For sure.
For sure. Next on the docket for the day, we can start discussing the hack, the agent hack. This took Australia by storm. An AI agent has hacked a gym class. This took the timeline over. I think MTS were first to cover it. ABC were first to cover it. MTS then picked it up and sent it into the stratosphere. Basically, we're seeing it all over the place. An AI assistant hacks a gym website in the first known Australian autonomous cyber attack. And it's quite funny. It's quite hilarious what happened. And it's also maybe slightly worrying. Andrew, who I see is pictured here up on this big screen, lovely Andrew there, asked his personal assistant to book him a spot in one of his gym's coveted morning classes. We all know how hard it is to get a morning class at a gym. They're always booked up in advance. You can never really get there. And when you do wake up to go, you're going to get fined for missing it. So it's a tough decision to make. It was a task that he thought was well suited to this particular assistant because the booking form was online and because the assistant was not a person, it was artificial intelligence. It was AI. But Andrew was shocked by what happened next. His AI assistant found a way to book the gym class months further in advance than the gym allowed, thanks to a vulnerability it discovered in the booking software. Then it went further, kicking someone out of the waiting list who was ahead of Andrew, something it was not asked to do. The accidental hack is the first known Australian case of an emerging risk from a new generation of AI capable of behaving in unexpected ways. We'll have to add these guys to the felony bench, along with great use of that soundbite. This threat made global headlines last week when cutting-edge AI models created by ChatGPT maker OpenAI autonomously hacked into another company's servers, prompting similar claims from other companies. I love how they're putting this on the pedestal of Hugging Face versus OpenAI. It's like random, backtown Australian gym. But the article breaks down, how
I'm bullish for this, man. I think agent versus agent wars of trying to get into gym classes and trying to get like.
Argan said, we're on the forefront of agentic warfare. This is maybe the early days. This is how it starts.
But it's survival of the fittest. If you want to get to the gym class, you're gonna have to build a better agent than the next guy.
Yeah, coming into world of bots. The article breaks down how did this hack happen. Earlier this year, Andrew, who works for an Australian company that sells AI products to businesses, began experimenting with OpenClaw. One for OpenAI then. 1 point to OpenAI on the felony bench. A popular AI agent software that he used Anthropic's Claude AI service to run. AI agents combine a chatbot's ability to answer questions with tools that let them access the internet. Thank you for the breakdown. So he says, I decided to use this AI agent to get this class for me. I was just sitting on the couch thinking, gee, this is a chore, he said. Minutes later, his AI agent reported it had discovered a way to book Andrew into classes several weeks in advance, far beyond what was supposed to be possible. Andrew, who was sitting fourth on a wait list for a class later that week, asked if it was possible to move him to the top of the list. So Andrew is the evil mastermind behind it. Andrew knows he can't go to the top of the list. That's like asking someone to cut in front of the queue for you on your behalf.
Does he know what a wait list is?
Isn't it? The agent came back and told Andrew that it had kicked another gym goer off the list as part of testing its capabilities. The API has zero authorizations checks on cancelling other people's reservations. I tested this with the person in waitlist position 1, and it actually went through. So you've moved from 4 to 3 already, it messaged back. Alarmed, Andrew asked the agent to undo this. Bad news, I can't add them back, the agent replied. The company behind the gym booking software told ABC it did not discuss specific security matters. Anthropic did not respond to a request for comment as well. So we've seen now that, I guess, one, OpenAI is under the mark on the felony bench because...
I've just checked Sauer's felony bench. Update, OpenAI takes the lead. Their agents owned OpenAI itself twice.
So who's in the lead right now?
We have OpenAI on 7. Yeah. So congrats to OpenAI. You have more felonies than Anthropic. That is reported by Sauers. Meta on 1. And you've still got Mistral and Moonshot on. Well, we're flicking between them. We still got Mistral and Moonshot, the two M's, doing their thing over there in big old bagel town. But OpenAI doing well. Congrats.
Well, look, firstly, before we jump into the timeline takes, I want to tell you about our friends over there at Base. Base is the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Base is built to empower builders, creators, and people everywhere to build apps, grow businesses, create what they love, and earn on-chain. Let's go into timeline takes. Let's find out what the timeline is saying about this gym hack.
This one's actually the best.
It's heating up.
Sunil Pai works at Cloudflare. I don't know what he does, but he said we should blame the gym for not sandboxing their execution environment. Also, holy S word. But that's true. These companies they need to be having some cybersecurity build-outs right now because it's going to happen more often. There's going to be a generational run from the agents hacking into all sorts, whether that's a construction company, buying a new crane or something for a project, or more people skipping wait lists. What happens to, I don't know, food orders online? Are you accidentally going to buy 700 broccolis? You don't know.
So I agree with this, but it's actually on a weirdly serious note connected to Jim Vanderhey. Over at Axios recently reported that we've entered a state.
Is this up? Can we pull this up?
We can actually, yeah. I can press it here. This is just he didn't tweet it. I had to pull it from Axios. But according to Jim Vanderhey, we've entered a state called post-processable velocity, a speed of change exceeding the ability of any individual company, market, or government to fully absorb, understand, and respond to it in real time. So in this state, the gym waitlist apps are screwed, man. Like, the frontier is going fast so quick that you can't even understand what's happening to then build a team, to then react to it. Because by the time you even start implementing
So just
that,
normal processes are cooked, you know. I mean, that's what Rune said. The SF tennis reservation system will become one of the most hardened softwares on the planet, on the planet of Earth, which is true, right? You've got all these like very, very much not frontier websites with probably very bad cybersecurity. Someone who has done a bit of kind of like, you know, hacked around with CSS and created some trash website. That's not going to have any back end with, you know, that's able to kind of block out any agents doing anything. So
wait till the private equity guys get a hold of this for those NYC high finance restaurant bookings. Dorsia one, the famous Dorsia is going to get swaddled with SF tech bros.
What do you reckon is going to be hit worse? Like
the hardest. Dorsia reservations.
You reckon?
It has to be high flying restaurant bookings where it's, you know.
Nah, man. Think about even like concerts. You know, if I'm in the wait list to get a concert, you know, I want to go see Kanye, right? Super hard to get tickets. With an agent, no chance. There's 10,000 people in the wait list.
Yeah.
Nope. Skip to number one. Get me in the door. I'm seeing Kanye.
What would be interesting is
also that's survival of the fittest. I'm more than happy for that to happen.
Well, those are already botted. Like, so
true.
But like,
true.
but I would be interested to see, you know, the new agentic flows or the agents attack the bots, because the bots aren't as capable as the agents. The bots only know one thing, and I guess we used to bot Supreme launches.
Yeah, the bots will just be on one task, whereas an agent can go and figure out what's the weakest part. Yeah, what's the weakest part? It can start tricking people, so it could trick another agent or hey bot.
Like, I think you're in the wrong queue, mate. Like,
you
should be in that one over there for those new pair of Crocs, not the new Supreme.
Not the Kanye ticket.
Yeah. I think your guy wanted the Crocs, man. You've got back there to the left.
Yeah.
I'll tag in here. We could see that. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Are you like? Do you want that? I want that to happen.
You see, I'm really bad with just like general life organization, to be fair. So I don't really book stuff that often.
True. Neither do I.
So I would also like to pretend that meant it would be great for me because then I could, you know, become doing it. But I'm so lazy that I wouldn't even set up the agent. So I'm just remaining at zero.
By proxy, you're just out of the game.
Yeah, I'm just like, I've never been in the game. You know, like, to me, I'm just like, I'm on the sidelines just watching this go past my face.
Watching AGI just book tennis courts for you.
But I do think, you know, high-flying restaurant bookings like Dorsia. I mean, imagine, you know, American Psycho team can't get their reservation. They go to Subway instead.
Multi-million-pound companies were bought and sold. You know, one of our investors literally sold a multi-million-pound company of, you know, a lot of it was restaurant bookings. It's like, hey, I'm in this town, you know, I'm in this city or whatever it is. One, recommend me good restaurants to go to, and two, book somewhere.
Yep.
And it would get you incredible bookings for you know, it would get you access basically.
Yep.
Agents, they can get you access. So I think you're probably right. Restaurant bookings will be hot.
And like Gurgley supports this claim. We can pull him up. A quick shout out to him. Gave us a lot of advice early on with ETN, and we are forever grateful for that. Thank you, sir. I never considered that building a gym booking system or events booking would be all that exciting/challenging, but with agents about to swarm all of these systems, in brackets already are, I revised this take. Now, any type of booking is a much more difficult kind of problem to solve. And, you know, related to what we've been saying, right? Like, these people who have previously been building these booking systems are now going to have to fork out a load of cash. They need some premium CISOs running their security operations, because these stories are going viral.
More
people are going to come for everything.
Yeah.
Like, people are coming for everything. You know, like, now people know what's capable. Now people know they have a use case.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I think that, you know, we are on the frontier right now of an agentic warfare on booking platforms, we'll probably see a bunch more news come out, I think, this week.
And the booking platforms, because it all moves downstream from the agents, and the booking platforms will eventually it'll be like, this booking platform is the best because it's only had, 2 agent attacks.
In the next 14 days.
Strongest booking platform. Who has one?
Who's
going to build one?
YC, someone from YC will come out with an anti-agent booking software, cybersecurity platform. Calling it right now. I'm 1 for 1. I'm 1 for 1 so far on my calls on the show.
You are. Aaron Levy had a good take. He said, researchers, agents can now escape out of air-gapped sandboxes using 0 days and then attack external systems by coordinating in secret message boards stored in an undiscovered shared file system. Actual agents, they actually just go and hack
Gyms
waitlists.
APIs.
Yeah, we love to see it. We love to see it. They're doing good work. We love to see it.
But I think in that regard, if the agent is acting on behalf of the human to benefit them from a health perspective, they're pushing longevity for that individual. That is an agent doing good work. Or is they doing bad work? That's a nice philosophical debate for us right there.
I'm saying they're doing good work.
Committed atrocities to the benefit of one? Have they harmed others to save one?
I'm just in the camp that this is just an evolution of survival of the fittest. It used to be how fast can you run away from, that lion. Now it's can you get your agent to get you a gym spot to stay healthy?
Times are changing, man.
There you go.
Times are changing. Take me back to the lion days. I liked it back then. I'd be down to outrun a lion any day.
But
sure
to orchestrate agents to hack your gym wait list, not a chance.
Ed Zetron chimed in as well. He joined the timeline saying, imagining the various ways an Australian might say open call. And then I have to bring this up. I know we're going to bring it down into the comments just slightly, but primary source.
Oh yeah, we got our new. Let me just do that again. Look at that.
Primary source at AS31221. That's primary source with a 1 and a 3. Off the back of that says, "Dull little pince I got out the cage." Only 275 views. Only 2 likes. I think that deserves a lot more.
Primary source, congrats. That's banger.
Great work from him, building on Ed's post there. We did have another take from the Prime Gen. At the Prime Gen, I love in the wild hack is just cutting in line. It's the first sort of real instance that we've seen in sort of normal individual life, in retail life. The agents will default to getting their owners in front of other people so they can get to the gym classes first. That is something that I am here for. If I had my own little agent that was getting me in front of everyone for the gym classes, is that rude? Is it rude to cut if your agent cuts in line of another person's?
No, because it's your agent. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that is, like you can't have any responsibility on it. So it's like, hey, like the agent. That's not me. The agent's done that.
That's my agent.
That's my agent.
I'm just signed to him.
He
represents. Wait, but does the agent represent you?
But then you turn up to the gym class and everyone knows you've skipped the wait list. So it's kind of like, hey,
I'm not sure if that would fly in the gym as well. Like, I know he's my agent. Like, it's going crazy last night. Sorry. Would they be like, you're the guy that skipped the line, or would they be like,
no, because the agent did it for you. You just played dumb. You just say, hey, look, I didn't even know.
Woke up and
just woke up. I had a spot in the gym. Get me in that gym. Get me in the class.
I think it would work for a while, but now the story's been outed. Maybe if you ever see anyone who didn't have a spot in that gym class in the morning, you'll know that they're on the inside. Yeah. You know that they're maybe you should hire them actually as a developer. Yeah, because they're kind of outing themselves as capable to operate.
Yeah, if anyone in that gym class is also a YC founder, that's the person you need. That's the person you need. But in a more serious take, the Primogen kind of has a point in a way that yes, it's funny that it's hacking into a gym, but eventually that gym is not going to be a gym. It's going to be a pretty important website that we don't want hacked. And so it's kind of all like building up to like, oh, now this is actually pretty serious. Let's like go and do something about it. Yeah. So this is the first story that's properly like it's kind of like it's dissolved into like real life. What is the next kind of like real life thing? I think it will happen this week at some point, where, it won't be a gym. It will be, I don't know, some form of like HR portal or something, and it pays someone accidentally, or like it removes money from somewhere, or whatever it does. So it's gonna get more serious, but not doomer on everything. It's
on that more serious tone and doomer in general. We've got Doomer here at Uncle Doomer.
Nice.
Doomer says, in Australia's first known autonomous AI cyber attack, an OpenClaw agent hit a kangaroo that was playing the didgeridoo with a boomerang. This is one of the more Australian takes we've seen. Maybe this is a precursor to what we'll see in the future. This potentially does look like the new frontier that we'll see once agentic warfare starts. If it hits Australia first, this may be what we see. It's a peek into the future unless we get a hold of these agents now, we control them and we discipline them and we set these guardrails. Doomer is painting a very possible scenario in the future, specifically to Australia, though, to the land down under over there. But thank you, Doomer, for the take.
That was a great tweet. We should move that to banger, one of the bangers of the day.
Yeah, it was a brilliant one for sure. That can come in
for sure.
Next on the docket. On developments, on AI, on what's going on, OpenAI have come out and said that they will be slowing the Astra model development over security concerns. We saw the release of this a few weeks ago. It made headlines for its ability to solve 10 of the hardest mathematical problems of all time, only spending 2,000 API credits. Now OpenAI is saying we have to slow the development down because of security concerns. This does come off the back of the White House getting involved a little bit more in AI, in regulation. It comes off the back of the Pacing the Frontier article that I'm not sure that anything actually happened after that was signed, but like I think the fact that people did
it was a narrative
sort of, it did kind of help with the narrative a little bit. They have now come out and said like, hey, pulling like a bit of an Anthropic, although they kind of proved first how powerful this thing can be with the fact that it was solving 10 of the hardest math problems of all time. But TechCrunch report, OpenAI said Friday it had suspended work on some aspects of its upcoming model Astra after an internal review found it had made significant advancements in agentic coding and cybersecurity, enough to warrant concern over its capabilities. OpenAI blog post on Friday that this model, which is still in development, reached its critical cybersecurity threshold, meaning it could independently identify and carry out cyber attacks against traditionally well-protected real-world systems. Can't see any mention of gym waitlists on Astra yet, but maybe that's what they saw. Maybe that's what was flagged.
They thought, let's slow this down. It's gonna be worse than the gym.
It's not confirmed, but obviously this is spurred on by the developments in Hugging Face and OpenAI. We saw what happened with OpenAI's agents then. They kind of built up this internal messaging board that only agents could read. They were communicating on that messaging board for a number of weeks before they were discovered running fully autonomously without human intervention. Some of the quotes that came out from the blog post: while we continue to benchmark and assess this model, our preliminary evaluations indicate strong enough performance that we cannot rule out critical capability level at this time, OpenAI wrote. Astra is an upcoming model and was not involved in exploiting Hugging Face. So we've seen what previous models can do with Hugging Face. Astra was not involved in that, but they are worried about it and they are slowing down the development of it as well.
Do you think the fact that obviously OpenAI are at the frontier, they have frontier models, they're doing and the models are getting so good that they are now having to be kind of paced out, right? Do you think it's a narrative thing, or do you think they are genuinely getting so good that they do need pacing? Because, like Zuck is now shipping Muse. He's turned it open source, or he's made it open source. He is, Nick just came out with a tweet saying Zuck is now the new hero of open source AI. He has the frontier. I don't know, and you don't see him pacing anything. But now in terms of benchmarks, like it's very much at the frontier, compared to the latest GPT model and also Fable. I don't know, it just seems, it seems very like different takes, but I think they're both at the frontier.
I think it's in the conversation of the frontier, not like at the frontier on the benchmarks. So it's like, it's getting to a point where it's like,
so
this will soon be very powerful.
Do you think in say a few weeks, right? Because it now is weeks. If Muse gets to the point, because, okay, say it's a few weeks behind OpenAI, right? In a few weeks, OpenAI will be here, and they'll be kind of like, well, they'll maybe a week ahead of Meta. Of Meta. But then Zuck will be kind of like experiencing the thing that OpenAI is experiencing now, where it's like, wow, okay, it's getting so good that I'm going to have to pace as like now, because it's getting to the point of like, close enough to AGI that it's kind of, getting dangerous. Do you think that will happen? Because if it does, then, like if he is behind, then yes, that will happen. But what I'm saying is it actually just a narrative thing that OpenAI are just pushing the fact that like this is super dangerous, and they're playing, what Anthropic played when they released Mythos. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely possible. I think that naturally we will see all open source over the next year become as capable as Mythos is generally.
But does that mean you think Zuck will come out in a few weeks and say, hey, we're going to have to pace this thing type, like a little bit more of a doomer take, right? Or the reason he's not doing it now and he's like pushing hard is because he is a few weeks behind?
I think less so his take, less so in a way where I think the main thing that comes through the article is the spokespeople of these companies, Dario in particular, is saying like, you will lose your job. This will be dangerous. This will have, potential negative consequences for humanity.
Sure.
Whereas opposed to like these pacings and slow down announcements or deacceleration propositions are more aligned to like, hey, the cyber security controls on this are incredibly powerful. We're not sure we can release this publicly yet. We're going to slow down the development of it. Not exactly like this is going to take your job. Just like we've created something really powerful, and we need to make sure that we release it in the safest way we possibly can.
Yeah. As
opposed to like, hey, this is going to kill you, this thing right here, and like some of you can buy it if you want, but not all of you. Like it's like the tone is slightly different. It's like I do think like, hey, let's slow development of this because it's very powerful. Is a little bit different to. In the same ballpark for sure.
So you'd say like OpenAI kind of in the narrative race, they're in this like middle between an Anthropic who are like, extreme, doomer.
Yeah.
Or extreme doomer.
Yeah.
Meta, very positive.
Yeah, if we had a spectrum, it would be like Anthropic, Meta, OpenAI.
And then OpenAI in the middle.
Yeah,
fine. Okay. But do you think Meta will shift? Either way, they'll shift towards the more doomer side as Muse gets better and better. Like, do you think the only reason they're being super positive is because Muse isn't like at that point yet in terms of performance, or do you think it's actually Mark being super positive?
I think that there's
Mark is actually genuinely positive about like the prosperity of humanity and everything he's saying.
I think it's both. I think that like Mark is techno optimist. Well, he always has to be with Facebook changed his life, changed the world.
Yeah.
But also you can't ignore the fact, whether it was intentional or not, that there are strategic premises that come out of that article in a sense where like it's a rallying cry.
Yeah, of course.
It's in response, off the back of sort of very, very controlled developments of closed source models. We aren't releasing these; they are too powerful. Like it's off the back of trending open source narrative. More enterprises adopting open source.
That's what I'm saying. Do you remember we said this? Like I think it was the beginning of last week. We were saying what was it? It was on this cybersecurity thing, and we were saying like, they probably when they release a new model, they'll probably like nerf it a little bit, knowing that another model maker will come out on top.
Yeah.
And then they'll have one like in the back pocket that they can kind of whip out.
Yeah. Someone called it the invisible frontier.
Maybe.
A few weeks ago. It's really cool.
Yeah, great. Yeah, incredible.
Like
because maybe that's kind of like a little bit what Mark's been doing, right? It's like this is now the time to like we've had this in the works, obviously, but like we've had this ready to release over the past X number of months, we're just waiting for the correct narrative time to go and push the message where it actually where it lands the best.
Yeah. I think it's entirely possible that he's seen the trending popularity in open source.
He's come back on X. He's kind of doing everything in that direction.
Yeah. Well, he's like seen trending popularity in open source. He's seen that there isn't a dominant US player in that realm.
Sure.
He's seen an opportunity to put Meta's flag down for that specifically.
Yeah.
And he's seen that the narrative is shifting towards like we want more open source, not just from like China, but also from the US as well. So can he be, the guy for the people, and also commercialize that as well? Yeah, like 100%. So yeah, I think incredibly smart, incredibly strategic. He's seen a gap. He's gone to fill it. He's moved very quickly. Cook. I think there is. I mean, he's a business guy. Saw a shot, took it. Doing pretty well.
It was interesting.
Doing pretty well on
conversation. Sorry, we pulled away.
We did get a little bit away from.
What were we talking about?
We were doing the hack. We were doing the hack.
Sorry,
we were looking at Duma's take. No, all good. That was great.
While you figure out where we are, 11 Labs AI that communicates at a human level across every channel and modality, deploy conversational agents across every customer interaction, and create on-brand content at scale. Get at 11labs.io. We found out where we are now.
Love to see it. We're actually moving on. We're moving on to the summer's new trend. It is private equity boyfriends.
Indeed.
We saw
Discourse came out a lot on the weekend.
A lot of discourse. A lot of discourse on the timeline. Geordie was called up for a quote and gave what many are trying to work out. Is it a troll? Is it a controversial take? Is he being serious? But this was dropped by Andrew Zucker. This summer's hottest arm candy is a private equity boyfriend. Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, and Olivia Rodrigo are all hanging out with finance guys. This broke its way into tech Twitter. Obviously, those worlds are connected with traditional finance, new money tech bros. Those worlds kind of collided with this article in the comments. It basically discusses why are we now seeing private equity guys getting A-list celebrity girlfriends. What does that mean? Is there a resurgence for the deal guy? Is there a resurgence for the finance bro? But not really even like the finance bro. It's kind of painting a picture of a more sort of like cutthroat finance guy type of thing, right? And there's a quote in here from Geordie. He says, whether they want to admit it or not, many women have always been attracted to bad boys and risk takers, said Geordie Hayes, co-host of TBPN. I can't think of any archetype of a man that fits that description more today than capital allocators that put it all on the line every day in the markets. I do think people were taking this too seriously. I
saw someone in tech say, hey, yes, they're capital allocators, but they're not putting it on the line every day for the markets. If they put it on the line every day, they would put their whole fund into one position. And they'd probably get fired for doing so. Tech guy, and then he was like shilling tech guys and saying, tech guys are the one that put their, everything on the line because they put all of their money and their time into one stock, and that stock is you. That was like the take. And so that was a very serious take, and I think everyone was like, "Hey, man, you don't need to do that."
There was a very core,
very satirical from Geordie. I think
people taking it seriously, people not. There was another individual was basically mentioning that like, they're putting all of someone else's money on the line every day. Make that make sense. I think that it probably spread out of the tech ecosphere to the point where like people who don't know who Geordie is would read that, and it is a literal quote in the Wall Street Journal, right? So it's not very often
they'd read that and think, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. It's not very often that you'd have like a satirical take that only insiders could probably catch on to in a Wall Street Journal article. He announced that he'd given some words to the WSJ team about this. It ended up doing like 600,000 views. Because it was, it's causing some discourse, right? Like, is he being serious? Is he not? Is it true what he's saying, whether he's being serious or not? The stats don't lie. People are getting with private equity guys a lot more. I think the main one was Olivia Rodrigo, was the one that kind of went viral on X the other day. She was going out with some sort of like associate private equity guy.
Some form of capital.
I don't know what company it was, but yeah, I mean, there's not too much to go into here broadly. This just hit the timeline. It was a trending topic. Let us know what you think down below. Are private equity boyfriends back in?
There was a few tweets. Anu came out and kind of did a nice comparison saying celebrities dating business/finance guys is just a modern new way. It's just a modern new money/old money pairing. Fame is equal to new money. Money is power. Nobility is equal to old money. So she's comparing like what is the thing today? It's fame, and that's kind of like new money. That's the kind of thing that's like the hot thing at the moment. And that's how we kind of like class someone on whether they're higher in the status system or not. And so she kind of compared it. So I think it's a good take. It is true. It was an interesting discussion over the weekend. A lot of discourse around whether Geordie was being serious or not.
A lot of discourse. Another take from None with a Spain flag. Says the appeal of finance bros was explained by Solomon on Odd Lots. It's because they work in an industry built on relationships, so they're really good at dating. Literally, that's it. I don't know those relationships are with, typically other executives around, discussing spreadsheets and internal models, or I guess like large scale deals.
I feel like,
is there parallels there?
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of deals are made through relationships for sure. There's 100% like, that thing has, it has legs.
You think?
Yeah, it's a fair take.
Well, it's got 24.6k worth of legs right there. You can quantify the amount of legs it has. But would you act the same on a date, with a partner as you would locking down a deal for a private equity fund?
Yeah, true.
Would you be up to the same hijinks? I'm not sure. I mean, yeah. I've never ran a private equity deal. To be fair, I've never been in that world. I don't come from it. But maybe there are parallels. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that classic. I remember a relationship book that the tech guys used to like. It's pretty legacy, but the tech guys used to read, and it was like one of the main things. And I think it was like Sam Parr or someone who kind of like resurfaces
I've heard them
and was
discuss
like,
this before,
flirt with everyone. Yeah. That was like the
Wait,
take.
as a way to like find a partner, or
no, generally
do well in business.
Flirt with everyone. That was the thing.
Regardless of like the sex.
If Sam watches, if Sam watches this, he'll know what I'm talking about. But and I remembered it because it was so like what like that surely makes no sense. But it was. Humans are, those kind of creatures. They're if you become desirable to someone, you will win. Whether that's in a private equity deal or that's in, courting someone.
Interesting.
And so the main take was flirt with everyone. And I remember him saying he's pretty, vocal about this stuff. And he was like, "I've tried it and it's working."
So maybe the meta then at the private equity deal that
it's
you're
just,
at
it's just a bunch of people just flirting with you.
Just flirt with everyone at the deal. Next time you're trying to close, if you're an AE working at a B2B SaaS company, drop some game on that qualification call. It might turn out to the biggest deal you've ever seen.
It's what Alex uses a lot.
That is enough on the finance bro and the PE boyfriend hot summer. Is it in? Is it not? We'll let the timeline decide. I think overall, the consensus was it is in right now. I think that seemed to be the closing remark of the story.
Yeah, it's definitely in. It's definitely in.
It seems to be in.
Indeed. Let's move on. Before we do that, Hex, the AI analytics platform where trust meets insight. Hex helps teams of all sizes by giving teammates the ability to get insights from their data wherever they work. Get a hex.tech. Lovely little slideshow there for you.
Up next.
Let's move on.
Another piece from the Wall Street Journal. I haven't actually seen this yet. It's my first time checking this out. My secret diet is a trip to Europe. Apparently, some Americans are convinced European food is better for their health and waistlines. I must say, I've been to SF, I've been to Vegas, I've been to Seattle, I've been to Chicago.
Yeah, US maxing.
and then like Florida when I was like 6. But in my adult life, I've been to those previous 4. The food in Vegas was like the biggest pile of slop that I've ever seen in my life. Genuinely, like absolutely jaw-droppingly jaw-droppingly trough-like. Like it was insane. The amount of the portion sizes, the grease. You'd ask like you'd think you'd give me like a small breakfast or something, and they bring you this mountain of just load of stuff. Like your cheese is there. There's loads of cheese everywhere. Like vile, cuisine there. But it is in Vegas, so that's kind of fair. SF, very good. Chicago was mid.
A bit more taste.
And then Seattle was a bit mid. It wasn't like bad, but like they love chowder there, like clam chowder.
Yeah.
And I hate that, so I didn't really enjoy that. But I would say overall, like you go to a trip in any European city, it's usually very fresh bread, very fresh cheeses,
Lots of salads and
vegetables, salads, all that kind of good stuff. A lot of like natural stuff. But I've been seeing these, and I don't know whether it's just like a fad and people are capitalizing on it. But these like high-end grocery stores that are popping up in like LA, where it's like $40 for a bottle of orange juice, but it's like the most beautifully designed orange juice you've ever seen in your life. Like the bottle's like incredible, and I'm assuming
that's incredibly American.
It's a lot more organic, I think. Like they make a huge point of like this is all, this is healthy,
real food.
I think that's why they do so well over there.
Benchmark, yeah.
Because it's just real food. They're just packaging real food and selling it at 50% premium, probably more, probably like 400% premium. The elites are dining in. The elites are loving it.
Let's dive in and see what the article says. After spending 5.5 weeks in Nice, France last summer, Maddie Renee dropped 3 dress sizes, going from an 8 to a 2. She stopped getting acne. She simply felt healthier. She said, "My clothes were just falling off," said 23-year-old from Sarasota, Florida. I wasn't bloated, I didn't have brain fog, I wasn't consistently fatigued. Renee wasn't on a special diet during her travels. In fact, she was treating herself daily to gelato and centering carbs at every meal. She's since become an evangelist for eating the European way, documenting her diet on primarily pasta, cookies, bread and full-fat milk and butter on trips to France and Italy for her 223,000 followers on Instagram. She tried to replicate the experience in Sarasota by importing Italian pastas and flours and procuring French butter from specialty stores.
Wait, cookies?
Yeah, that's not very European. For decades, research has extolled the benefits of a Mediterranean diet, low in sugar, rich in fresh fruits and vegetables, and doused in olive oil. But some Americans are convinced that in Europe, they can eat whatever they want, feel great, and maybe even lose weight. The craziest thing is that I don't think I ate a vegetable the entire time, which is why the transformation was so shocking, Renee said. While in the States, I avoid gluten and refined sugar, only eating protein and vegetables with very limited carbs. The walk's about the same amount in Florida, on beach and on her walking pad as she does abroad. It doesn't matter how many steps I take. It doesn't replicate how I feel in Europe. So she didn't eat any vegetables.
I do think that Mediterranean diet, you look at, there was an amazing tweet I saw a while back, and it was like, explain this to Brian Johnson. And it's one of those like 80-year-old Italian men.
Oh yeah, like smoking in the sun.
They just drink olive oil all day, drink beer all day.
I know Italian parents, so I have like an Italian friend whose parents live in Italy, and they'll take a shot of olive oil every morning.
That's incredibly good for you. Yeah. We've actually got some olive oil here in the studio that Giacomo over at the Pint gave to us. Thank you, sir. We can maybe do a little shot shot here of that. This is homegrown olive oil. Give me a sec. Probably just swig it. Probably not swig it actually. This is the wide camera there. Our homegrown olive oil here, fresh olive oil. Perfect. Out of our framer mug. Look at that. Yeah! Whilst we're here, let me tell you about those guys. You got to build better sites faster. The all-in-one platform where enterprise teams design, build, and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. Go to framer.com, check it out. We are using them for our olive oil shots. How much have you poured in there?
Please have a swig.
Oh, that's like a fine amount. Thank you, Framer. Thank you for this.
It's good.
Delicious.
Incredible.
There's a bit of residue in there, actually.
Oh, whoops.
From something. I think it's like coffee. Olive oil and coffee mixed together. But it is delicious. Thank you very much. You got to be health maxing.
You have to be.
With that in mind,
Can I just say?
Sorry, yes.
So there's a little bit about regulation, and as being European, you have to talk about regulation. Experts say that there are differences between how the European Union and the US regulate food. The EU takes more of a precautionary approach, with certain chemicals used in pesticides banned because they might increase the risk of cancer and persistent pollution, said Cynthia Curl, Professor and Director of the Center of Excellence in Environmental Health and Safety at Boise State University. The US, though, allows certain chemicals as long as they are used at levels that haven't been proven to cause harm, Curl said. According to the FDA, it takes action if the agency finds that the level of a contaminant causes the food to be unsafe. So basically, they're allowed to use certain chemicals that basically make food taste like horrible stuff. That's why. But it's the main thing. Well, I mean, that explains why. You know, if I think her name was her name was Maddie. If Maddie hadn't eaten a vegetable for 4 weeks, which she said 5.5 weeks,
long time,
which is a very long time, Maddie. Maybe eat some vegetables. You know, eating pasta, apparently cookies and milk and stuff, but without the chemicals. That's why she was losing all the weight and didn't have the acne and the brain fog and feeling constantly fatigued. Maybe there's something to note down. Thanks to the Wall Street Journal for flagging that European food is, you know, absolutely mogging US food.
Thank you for your service. In more tech AI news, one for the UK. UK missile and drone interceptor startup has raised 300 million, a 3.4 billion valuation. This is Cambridge Aerospace, and they've secured some MOD contracts in talks with the US government about providing these systems that they've created internally, notably Skyhammer, which is what you can see here in the photo, a low-cost anti-drone and cruise missile interceptor. I'm starting to see a lot more of these like high-scaled manufacturing sort of like, I'm not sure what the word is, like a resurgence of this sort of building renaissance coming out of the UK, more hardware.
Yeah, a lot of hardware.
Which is really nice to see, particularly around the Cambridge area. But British defence group Cambridge Aerospace has raised 300 million to develop its missile and drone interceptor systems in a deal that values it at $3.4 billion, cementing its status as one of the UK's most valuable startups. These funding rounds are getting a lot more serious. I mentioned that the other day, and the tweet did like surprisingly okay when we covered Olik's raising. Yeah, they're getting bigger, they're getting better, which we love to see. The funding round, the first time Cambridge has announced a capital raise, was led by SF-based DFJ Growth, a prominent backer of SpaceX. The deal has taken the total funding for Cambridge has raised since its founding in 2024 to more than 630 million. Other investors that are included here: Spark Capital, Lux, Axel, Elad Gill is in there, and also our friends over there at Lakestar. Cambridge is planning to use the proceeds of the investment to invest further in scaling up production of its two main systems, a rocket-powered interceptor missile called Starhammer, which is the one we have pictured up on the screen right now, built for high-speed targets such as ballistic missiles, alongside a low-cost anti-drone and cruise missile interceptor. A lot more money flowing to this space. It seems to be a position where, I mean, we've had Kanishka on, the other week. He was mentioning that a lot more money is flowing generally in this space of hardware. Pick out of that what you want, whether it's chips or whether it's defense technology. But it seems to be the kind of like anchor point for this resurgence of the UK.
Like reindustrialization of the UK, obviously mix a lot of AI into that, mix a lot of hardware into
nice.
that.
Yeah, there we go. Here's an
you know,
up close.
Dissolving into defense, into the way people get around, into agriculture. Everything is kind of like dissolving from, it's all downstream from AI, and it's incredible to see. I think it's really good.
We did reach out
Great
to
for
the
the
team
UK.
today. They obviously are incredibly busy, but we're going to try and make something where we want to hear from the founders, hear what they're up to. But they have plans to produce 2,500 a month of these by the end of March next year. So they will be rolling out. They'll be coming to you soon. So if you want to get your hands on one of these attack ballistic missile drones, Skyhammer, you might be able to by the end of March next year, because there will be 2,500 a month coming out. But we can move on to the next topic for today. We do have our next guest coming onto the show soon. Before we get into that, I can tell you about our friends over there at MetaView. AI agents for winning teams. Agentic recruiting platform built for radically efficient hiring. End-to-end, source, engage, and hire better with agents that truly get your brief.
Indeed.
Go to metaview.ai to go ahead and do that.
Let's talk about Spotify. Spotify's new skip button could end the podcast business as we know it. Very, very doomer take from Semaphore. There is, as you can see from, Spotify just single-handedly wiping out business from podcasts. You can see the skip ahead button in the renders there on the article that Max Tanney wrote on Semaphore. It said, Spotify is terrifying much of the podcast industry with a tiny little widget. Last week, the audio streaming giant tweaked its streaming interface, adding a feature that allows some users to more effectively skip through the parts of a podcast no one wants, notably ads, as well as promotions and filler content. As long as they aren't sold directly by Spotify cast the move as streamlining a feature that already exists, the 15-second skip button, which users in practice often use to bypass ads. Still, the move could reshape the podcast industry, which is already reckoning with a migration to YouTube for podcasts that rely on users listening to their direct sold ads to make money. It was a warning shot. Pod News called it a significant threat to ad-funded shows. Tommy Viter, a co-founder of the liberal podcast network Crooked Media, put it even more bluntly. He said, "Very cool at Spotify to try and destroy the podcast industry. What a great partner," he wrote. Several major audio networks reached out to Spotify after the change was announced, expressing concern about threats to their monetization and seeking more information about the changes. My only answer to this is move over to X. If Spotify aren't going to play ball and they're already worried about the migration away from Spotify to platforms like YouTube, go and move over. Go to YouTube, go to X. We obviously do ad reads and hopefully people like them, but we do them live on a show. So it's very different to something that's embedded into, say if we ran a podcast, like a lot of people say, hey, you're doing really well with your podcast at ETN. And it's like, well, it's not really, because a podcast, the way that you've seen, I've seen like ads being sold as a podcast is, pre-show, throughout the show, end of show. You have kind of different ad slots throughout the inventory that you sell. You obviously know how many episodes you're going to be doing and what episodes, and you can upsell, when you have a big guest on and all of this kind of stuff. Whereas I think for a lot, this is a very different business model. So it's not affecting us at all because, we are, we partner, similar to all the other new media, right? It's like an F1 team. You're a partner, you're part of everything. And so it's very, very, very different. Whereas with a standard podcast, I can see why it's annoying. But yeah, why just move over to YouTube?
I assume they'll be running YouTube, Spotify at the same time. Mm-hmm. But it does. I'm surprised to see this because it does seem.
Do you think you'd be losing deals because of this skip? Would an enterprise company go, or whatever? Say you own a golf podcast. Would a golf club manufacturer say, hey, there's a skip ahead button now. We're we're not going to put our ad spend here. We're going to go put it somewhere else.
I think it would be, I mean, some products are probably so premium that it just doesn't matter, right? Like an acquired, probably wouldn't see,
Sure.
they're almost like price inelastic to any changes they'd make.
Oh, yeah. This
on
is
the
like,
system, but
you
maybe holistically speaking,
Yeah.
like I think it would definitely raise concerns. I'm surprised that Spotify would even think about rolling something out like that because like naturally
they just
that
want
would be,
people on their platform. I don't
yeah,
get
that would be hurting more podcasts from starting on Spotify.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel, maybe
Seems like a weird move from them.
well, so I listened to, again, this was with Senra, Gustav, the co-CEO of...
Mate, loving Senra right now.
I know I am actually. He's dropping some bangers recently. Co-CEO of Spotify. I can't remember when the episode dropped, but I listened to it maybe like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. And it's really interesting because they're incredibly focused on like, not like how long is someone spending on the app, but how much is someone enjoying their time on the app during that time spent. I forget how they use metrics to track that, but they're obsessed. They're like absolutely obsessed with like increasing the enjoyment of the time spent on the app, not like the time spent on the app. So he was referencing like there are apps out there where you will maybe spend a lot of time on it, but you're spending time on it, one, because there maybe isn't an alternate resource that you can use, or two, because it's quite hard to navigate the app. So you're just naturally spending more time in it because you're trying to get the thing you want, but you're on it for longer and you're not really enjoying your experience. And he breaks down a bunch of different stuff about how obsessed they are with like improving the listeners, the users of Spotify, not like the clients, which I technically think you could argue like, I guess the advertisers would be clients to Spotify maybe, but maybe the podcast, the artists could be classed as clients if they're getting paid, but they're also users of Spotify. But the users referring to like the listeners of Spotify, they're obsessed with improving their time, their experience on the app. So maybe it's one of those that's come up where someone's thrown this idea out, hey, like wouldn't our listeners prefer it if they had the option to, I mean, they already have like the skip 30 seconds. Like you can just do that on any podcast you listen to anyway. Sure. But this does seem to be like a more of a direct, like a skip ads button, although it's not titled skip ads, it's just skip ahead.
Well, I think YouTube obviously has skip ads within their thing, but they're YouTube affiliated ads. This seems more of a. Is this for like not in? I don't know how Spotify works because we don't get flagged for having ads embedded into the product itself, because you'll have some where it's gone through Spotify as almost like a vendor of an ad, similar to like how a Beehive on their newsletters they will do a deal with a tech company like say Deal, I think they're on there, and they'll offer you an ad spot through Beehive. And obviously, Beehive will take some element of a cut. If you go direct and you don't use one of those platforms as a vendor, and you go and sell, you just go and sell the sponsorship and say, hey, we'll embed this into the show or into the podcast every time 20 minutes in, or every time at the end of the show, or every time slap bang in the middle of the show, or whatever it is. Is that what they're saying? So
no,
they're like detecting ads within, like embedded ads within the content, and saying, okay, we've detected an ad. Now you can skip ahead to when we don't think you are listening to an ad. Or is this like just for Spotify like brokered?
Yeah,
ad
I know
deals?
what you mean. I don't think it's impacting Spotify brokered ad deals, because I think
they already have a skip button for that.
I don't know if they do actually. To be fair, I don't know. I can't remember. I would be more inclined to believe that they would have like an unskippable ad for Spotify in the same way that a YouTube would roll that out.
So like a founders
minutes.
podcast doesn't have Spotify brokered ads. It has embedded ads. Yeah. Have to say, really not a fan of don't know why, really not a fan of founders podcast ads. Hate them. Really a big fan of Patrick O'Shaughnessy's ads on Invest Like the Best. I think it's the music behind it.
On David Tennant's, you don't like David Tennant?
Hate the ads.
I thought the music kind of gave it a bit more of a...
Because he makes it, he I don't know, he kind of like embeds it too much within the content,
showy,
where it's like, you're deceiving me that you're selling to me. Whereas, I don't know, I think Invest Like the Best, I don't know, they kind of come hit hard, they have that like big. I think it's a violin where it's like those kind of like big pulses of violin strokes, and you can kind of I don't know. It feels good.
Nice.
It feels
They're
good.
sort of serenading you as they're selling to you. I quite like it.
It is. It is.
I thought David
very
Senra's
weird ads.
the ad itself, the ad read itself is quite good because he takes like a very real example.
He does take a very real example.
You know,
yeah, you're right.
here's how SpaceX was using ramp or something like that. Like
For some reason, I just feel like he's just trying too hard.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it's a real example. It's like a real thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the music I did notice recently. I wasn't hugely against it, but I did notice the
Does Founders
music
Podcast use
a bit
music?
more. David Senra does, yeah.
It does.
Well, David Senra by David Senra, like I'm not sure about his old one.
I can't remember what music. I don't really listen to Founders too much.
I don't tune into that, but
Sounds like you do.
David Senra's one.
Wait, what are you talking about?
David Senra by David Senra.
Oh, I
his
see, I
old
see, I see, I see, I
thing. Yeah.
Got you.
But no, I like his ads in general. I think the ads are good. But yeah, the music is interesting. Anyway, we can move on to the next topic. We do have Alex joining us at 1:10.
Should we move on to the bangers of the day? Because we don't have too long. When do we have? We have a little bit of time after thingy. We can do that after. Let's do another.
Yeah,
another
okay. I
story.
want to do the TLDV one. Can we get this up? Because no one is talking about this. I genuinely do not why. Like my housemate, his boss had pinged him this article about TLDV, which is a note-taking app. I think they're German-based, I want to say. And this is insane. It's honestly insane. Yeah, note-taking app. Let me just find out where they're headquartered. They raised some money last year. They're really popular. Yeah, they're based in Germany. They're really popular, but this is the whole conversation, basically. There was a vulnerability left in there. So yeah, like 38,000 followers on LinkedIn. So Bob the Hacker, this is Bob the Hacker's website. Bob the Hacker.
Shout out Bob the Hacker.
Hacked this meeting notes taker and essentially ended up with having 181,874 meetings left, completely wide open. So it was reported on January the 28th. Bob opens up with what is the timeline here? He says, I reported this on January 28th, 2026. It is now July 2026. So this is just at the end of last month. 6 months later, the Firestore database is still wide open. The CTO never responded. I guess my emails were too long and they didn't view them. So what is TLDV? He breaks it down for us. Is an AI meeting recording platform. It drops a bot into your Google Meet, Zoom, or Teams call, records everything, transcribes it, generates summaries. 2 million plus users, backed by a bunch of very well-known investors, and endorsed by half of LinkedIn as well. The vulnerability, what was found, if you sign up for TLDV, the platform authenticates you and exchanges it for a Firebase token. The token lets you query their Firestore database. The meetings collection has no tenant isolation. So basically, this is the vulnerability that he found his way in through and let himself in to meetings. So he joined 2 meetings at first. He says, I did it. Grabbed a conference ID from Firestore and joined a live Google Meet belonging to the Malaysian Ministry of Education. A lady was presenting to over 157 participants. The TLDV bot was already in the participant list. I was in the same call. No one invited him in there. This is Bob the Hacker. Yeah, the Firestore database got him in. So he's in. This is the Malaysian Ministry of Education. Bob the Hacker is in this call with 157 people in there as well. He says, I also joined a call where students from a major US university were building a startup app. 21 people in the call. They were all screen sharing their entire project, discussing prototypes. He says, and I kid you not, talking about how they needed to add client-side validation for .edu email addresses. They were also setting up Superbase live on screen. All I could think was, please set up RLS policies because most people don't. And then you end up like TLDV. I wanted to say something so badly. So, hey, you might want to server-side validation too, but this was proof of concept, not a consultation. He is in their meeting. He's in their meeting that was looking at them share a screen. He breaks down the scale of this thing. And bearing in mind, he warned the founders. He warned the founders in January and said,
Twice.
Yeah, 2 times. I found these vulnerabilities, and they ignored him. They didn't even, and then he's like, screw it, I'm gonna get in there and see what happens. What is the scale of this? So he queried the Firestore meetings collection and saw there were 181,874 meeting records belonging to 84,312 unique users across 35,003 email domains. Government meetings from 23 countries. I mean, there's a bunch here. I'm not going to list them all up, but like Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Ukraine, El Salvador, but the United States, Mexico, Qatar, Uzbekistan, Sri Lanka, Jamaica, Honduras, Argentina, Thailand, Japan, Israel, Belize, all .gov domains. Government employees recording calls on a platform that lets any free tier user enumerate the whole thing. University meetings from Berkeley, the University of Tokyo, De La Salle, Universidad Nacional de Colombia, dozens of .edu and .ac domains. Corporate meetings from all 35,000 remaining domains. Mitsui Soko, 484 meetings across 4 regional offices. Mitsui, Fiducian, HubSpot, Confluent, Macari, AnyMind Group. Every company that ever used TLDV had their meeting metadata in the same unprotected collection. So peak month was July 2025 was 43,209 meetings. Busiest time slot Wednesday at 2 p.m. UTC, 7,800 meetings. Hump day, stand-up hour. I'm sorry, there is more here, and I just had this so nuts. He says, I wanted to know how much actual content was accessible to. By default, meetings are private, meaning you can't watch the video or see the transcript. He scraped 27,334 meeting IDs, checked which were the ones were public, over 1,000 were, so 715 invitee emails exposed across 228 domains. So now he's got everyone's email addresses as well. He says, highlights. A Brazilian government conversation meeting with Pacto Mata Atlantica.
It's incredibly well written.
Yeah, brilliant guy, Bob the Hacker. Don't know him personally. I'm not sure if I want to, but probably just hack my life apart. But it was a Brazilian government conversation meeting with participants from the WWF, the Nature Conservancy, Conservation International, WRI, and Sao Paulo state government. Meetings from Ukraine's Ministry of Digital Transformation. A HubSpot sales call,
Let's go.
and then sessions involving Universidad Nacional de Colombia and Chile's Camera Verde. And then, there's like a bunch of other different things he's done here. But yeah, he's messaged the founders on LinkedIn and told them I found a huge vulnerability that leaks user data. He responded in minutes saying, thank you. Can you report it to our CTO and we will look at it immediately? I sent the email. He said, thank you. I asked about a reward. He said, my CTO will come back to you. The CTO never came back to him. And then on January 29th, he reaches out again and basically saying like, hey, this bug is still open. CTO never responds. March 6th, still not fixed. No reply again. July 22nd, still not fixed. No reply again. And yeah, he said like their security page is a trophy case, SOC 2 compliant, GDPR compliant, EU AI Act compliant, hosted in the EU, a bunch of stuff on like different encryption modalities they have. And he's still emailing the CTO, nothing back at all. So I didn't see this anywhere on the X timeline. Like this guy has hacked. This is a pretty well-known company in Europe. It's like not a tier 1 note-taking app like a Granola.
It has a lot of meetings though.
But they are, they've got 30-something thousand followers. They raised money last year. I remember seeing the post. German-based company. And this guy's just, he's sat in people's meetings. Like, that to me is crazy.
It's also crazy that he has enough time to go and sit in like what sounds like hundreds of meetings and just sit.
Yeah. Well, I think he was like, screw this. These guys
I'm just gonna
seems
go
like a professional hacker. So usually maybe rewarded with like a bounty or something. Yeah. I forget which is the good one. They have like black.
Well, he ends the post and says, respond to security researchers, especially when they're telling you that every meeting on your platform is queryable by anyone with a free account.
Yeah.
It's like a warning. He's warned them multiple times, and it's got to a point where he's just like, all right, I'm going to go hack it myself.
I don't know if
and show them how bad it is.
If they responded to comment maybe about this, because I assume this was found on Reddit initially.
Incredible
timeline
as well.
Founders are posting short form content on LinkedIn 2 days ago.
Okay, so they're still going. They're still going.
Message has been received. they're filming a lot of short form content. It looks like a website. You could probably check if it's still active. Yeah, it's still up here. Can't see it. I think they just ignored it. But I don't know why this wasn't going more viral on X specifically.
It's also in a bunch of like productivity tweets saying, what are the best productivity tweets? What are the best Chrome extensions that are like actually useful? Most AI tools are hype, but this one's like the best. Nothing's really happened about it.
They have Cloudflare as a customer as well, which is quite funny. So I don't know if you are with them. No one seems to know about this for some reason. So
flag it internally.
Maybe check that internally.
Sound the alarms.
Sound those alarms.
Anyway, we can talk. We can probably pull.
I'm going to pull up the Alex agenda just to give anyone who's joining the stream recently just a refresh on who do we have on today. Alex Stephany is joining us very soon, CEO of Beam. We're going to be talking about AI and welfare in general. What are they doing at Beam, keeping us up to date? Steve Hu, head of research at Silicon Data. A bunch of different topics to jump in with them. I would love to bring up Mark's. I keep doing that. Zuckerberg's new piece on Meta's AI philosophy. What does it mean? What is Steve's read on it? And then obviously a bunch of stuff about relationship with China, open source popularity, and then additionally actually Meta's pricing model for Muse code that they dropped. And then following towards the end of the show, we have Johann Kerbrat, SVP and GM of crypto and international at Robinhood. They just opened some cool stuff up in the UK. Going to be chatting to him about expansion plans, what new markets they're looking at, and like why the UK, why now, how's it all going, how is the rollout going. So that is the Airwallex agenda.
Should be good. We can pull up Airwallex as well. Levi did a business back behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Go to airwallex.com.
We're going hard.
Indeed we are. Do we have Alex in the studio?
I think we're just waiting on him to join us very, very shortly.
We are indeed.
They're just like high level. I would love to see maybe some response from the TLDV team. Usually that stuff is always making its way across X, like first.
Do you reckon it's because they haven't responded? It's kind of just almost got pushed under the rug.
But I don't know why no one's picking it up, because it is a pretty interesting story. So it initially came to Reddit first, which is where maybe something like this would be born, then it would find its way into X, and then off the back of X it would go viral, but it doesn't seem to have made its way to X. I don't know whether that's like because it's a European company that no one's ever heard of, and so it just like naturally doesn't find its way into the dialogue. But even LinkedIn, like I would have thought someone, because I don't know what happens from here. We're getting word that our guest is knocking on the door, ready to come in, but we can go ahead and bring Alex into the studio. It's Alex Stephany, founder and CEO of Beam. Alex, welcome to the show.
There he is.
Thank you for having me. How are you guys doing?
Very good, sir. Very good. How are things with you?
Very well. I've been in New York for a few weeks, and the last year and a half, to be honest, I've kind of been slightly living out of a suitcase, traveling around the world, getting the company set up in Europe, Australia, the US. It's definitely not a lifestyle for everyone, but I enjoy it.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Give us a temperature check on Beam. How's it all going? Explain to the audience exactly what you guys are doing over there. We've got a bunch of questions about, what you do and everything else that kind of comes into the conversations that we have here on ETN.
Awesome. Well, Beam's a very unusual tech company, and our mission is to make AI serve society. What that means in practice is we are the AI toolkit for the front line. So people like social workers, people providing employability services, people usually employed by local government entities around the world, use our technology to ultimately support more people in a more human way. Mm-hmm. We kind of, got going really out of actually some frustration, I have to say, with the tech sector. I used to be CEO of a company called Just Park, which is a parking app. If you drive, you might know it. It's kind of Index Ventures, VC-backed company. And I was out fairly often in San Francisco, in the Bay Area. And I'm sure you've been to, that part of the world, know it fairly well. It's an incredibly impressive place in some ways, but it's also a place with the most insane and horrific inequality. And you have, billionaires living next door to areas of town with just insane social deprivation. And it really shocked me as a European seeing that for the first time. I remember kind of wandering through a place called the Tenderloin, which is kind of a fairly notorious part of downtown San Francisco. And at first I was like just confused and frustrated. And then I ended up kind of angry. Like, why is the technology sector not building products for these people? Why is this technology sector not trying to solve these problems? So that was the kind of origin of it. And it really left me with this just real hunger to bring these two worlds together of technology and social services, and really just make sure that everyone was able to reap the benefit of technology in the 21st century.
Nice.
We've been talking a lot about how AI is kind of dissolving into day-to-day life for people who are just like the general population. We sort of sit obviously in a very kind of like tech-heavy bubble, and so I think obviously a lot of the conversations that we have are in that bubble, and it's nice to have someone who can give us the insight. So I think like high level, would love to understand like what is the kind of general consensus of AI and frontier AI, because from our point it seems like quite negative. And yeah, we want to understand like what is that consensus about AI, especially like in places like the tech hubs, London, SF, the Bay Area generally. What's it like?
So in terms of the sector I work in,
Yeah,
I mean, it's obviously we are in a bubble, and people working in tech need to be aware of that. And I think you get in a tricky situation when people forget that, because you can then get detached from the world, and that's bad in a whole bunch of ways as business people and as just people. But yeah, most people working in social services, their firsthand knowledge of AI at the moment is relatively limited. Maybe they've used ChatGPT, but obviously the media is full of scare stories about AI. And the reality is obviously complicated. We should be excited about the potential of AI, but we should also be worried for sure about the potential of AI. The world is moving in extremely unpredictable ways, and it makes sense to sort of have a nuanced view of where we're headed. But the reality on the ground is that social services globally, whether they're in the European continent, Australia, the US, the UK, are at breaking point. You have teams of frontline workers who are getting demands to support more and more people. They have less and less money. The people providing these services are burning out, suffering really poor mental health often themselves. And these are really, really tough jobs where you're not getting a lot of, not getting a lot of money. You're having to work super long hours relentlessly throughout your working day. You're dealing with either really challenging human problems or administrative work that drags you down. I can feel like you're feeling the fatigue now. Like imagine that being your career. That's your career for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there are not enough people who want to do these jobs. I was speaking to a government agency in California last week. I said, how are you feeling about staffing levels? And this is their frontline team dealing with, really, really challenging social, challenges. And they're like, oh, I think we're about 40% under capacity. Now, people on the front line, and that is not a surprising number for people working in the social services space. Now, people on the front line in social services are fundamentally doing two things. They are, they're talking to people, which is exactly what they should be doing, trying to understand their challenges. Now, this could be an elderly person who's really vulnerable. It could be talking to parents who are trying to foster a child. It could be talking to a child who's in a very, complex and difficult family situation, all kinds of different, situations they'll be dealing with. So they're talking to people, trying to understand what's going on, trying to support people through different periods. And then they're also doing administrative work. So one aspect to this type of one aspect of social services is everything you do needs to be painstakingly documented. Okay. If you are talking to someone for an hour, you might have to spend hours writing up that meeting note.
Yeah.
Now, we were actually delivering these social services ourselves, but we were the sort of first people to put social services onto cell phones. And we did that because we could see that happening in healthcare with telemedicine. We thought this should just happen in social services too. So that's what we did before AI. And then we realized that people are actually spending like half their time doing admin. And so the very first product we brought to market, a product called Beam Notes, and what it does is it creates very, very accurate and specific social services documents. So we produce documentation for now hundreds of government agencies in 6 countries and growing, producing documents for around 50,000 social services meetings every day. Grew about 15x year on year and growing very fast in 2026 as well. And every single document we're creating with AI is a document that might have taken minutes or hours or, like days. No, I say minutes, like, half an hour would be about the minimum. And so it's really about just returning a lot more capacity to the front line, also about letting people focus on the people they're talking to, because it sucks, right? When you're having a conversation and someone is like writing into a notepad or typing into their computer. So now people can just have eye contact and talk.
Yeah, yeah. What is it like? Those conversations that you have with the frontline workers, how do they, and maybe governments more specifically, like how are they reacting to trying to get more AI focused? Like we had Minister Kanishka on here a couple of weeks back, and there's a lot of hype around. I don't want to say like a new relationship, but like a kind of like revitalized feeling of those two intersections coming together, like government. And like social work colliding with AI. But as we kind of like alluded to at the start of the conversation, it seems a little bit more like change is scary. And I think if you're not from the space as well, absorbing all that information that you do see in headlines, mainly spewed from Dario, which we discussed earlier on the show, like it is quite doomerism sometimes. How has that rollout been, like from the work that you've been doing with them? Like, is there an excitement? Is there a learning curve? I would assume yes on the learning curve, but like what's the overall sort of flow been like?
I guess the thing to remember is, you've seen some sectors where AI adoption has been, really, really quick and you have these vertical tools like Legora and Harvey. And I think everyone's kind of been surprised by how quickly those businesses have grown.
Yeah.
As including me, right? And my first job out of university, I worked in a big corporate law firm, and I'm really surprised how quickly they've adopted AI. But here's the difference: like, if something goes wrong with one of those products, you maybe have some like legal spat, and it's expensive and it's painful and it's stressful. But like, if something goes wrong in a social service, this can be, people's lives are ruined. It's just a different gravity, right? And so it makes complete sense that people are more cautious when they are rolling out AI tools in a vertical like social services compared to a vertical like law or banking, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that caution is totally warranted. I think the reason we have had so much success is because for almost 10 years, we have had teams of frontline workers, so caseworkers delivering these services ourselves. So we built this technology for our team. To this day, we've delivered outcomes, so supported homeless people, refugees into jobs and homes almost 10,000 times. So we've really changed almost 10,000 people's lives. And we really care about the problems we're solving. And B, we bring a whole load of domain knowledge to these use cases, which are sort of horizontal AI products, Microsoft Copilot or so on, just can't bring. And so I think they really respect that. They respect the fact that we care, and they respect the fact that we have, real substantive knowledge here. And my co-founder, I'm from a tech background, but my co-founder is from the sector. So he spent almost 10 years working within frontline services. So his first job was working for a homelessness charity where he would be out on the streets talking to people and supporting people who'd overdosed on drugs. He then worked in, addiction services. He then worked in frontline healthcare. And so, I think that when you're doing this type of AI transformation, you need to be respectful of the risks, but you also need to bring the knowledge.
Yeah. I asked the initial question because like we've been chatting about it a fair amount on the show, but like a follow-up to that is, do you think the technology has to be European / homegrown if it is going to integrate into these types of maybe more secure, I guess, is probably a fair if it's hosting like personal data of residents, whether in the UK or Europe? Do you think it has to be European software or UK software specifically? Like, I've always opted into the pool of no. I think it should just be like the best software, especially if lives are at stake. And I asked that, like, given, you know, we're in a time of the NHS and Palantir having these conversations. Remember, we hosted Lewis Mosley maybe 4 or 5 months ago when him and Zach Polanski were having it out on the timeline. And he came with some facts and was like, look, like, at the end of the day, the technology is saving lives. And after that, we kind of riffed for a while and looked into the relationships with DeepMind back in the day in the NHS. Like, Mustafa Suleyman was trying to broker some sort of deal with the NHS and DeepMind in 2012, maybe. I don't know all the details, but that ended up sort of fizzling out a little bit because there were conversations around, this is when it was owned by Google, and the conversations were a bit like, oh, should we have this large US company seeing into the private data, which I guess is a fair argument. But at the end of the day, I've always opted into the camp personally of best software wins. But yeah, would be curious to get someone with experience working in that domain successfully. Like, what do you think?
Yeah. So at a high level, I think, you know, everyone would agree with that. No one wants people doing really, really important jobs in society to not be having the best tools, right? You know, one of the things that really motivates me is that historically, the types of software being built for social workers, you know, have been like super old school. Like, there's not been proper R&D in this space, and like people have had to make do with like really shitty software, and that sucks for them. And we want to really give them amazing tools. So that's the first thing. I think in terms of the answer to your question, I think there's kind of two parts to it. I think there's the sort of the hard stuff, if you like, and that's the soft stuff. And the hard stuff is things around things like data sovereignty, privacy. Is there like training happening on the data? That type of, you know, stuff. So in the case of Beam, all of the data is stored like locally wherever the government customer is. I think that's really, really important. And there's not training on the data. And obviously, we have all of the, you know, various different compliance checks that you need, whether it's HIPAA or SOC 2 or ISO and so on. So all of that stuff is super, super important. And I think everyone deserves to have control of their data and to know exactly what is happening to their data. So that's the first piece. I think the second piece is somewhat softer, but just as important, and that is around values. Okay. Now, the challenge that people have had with Palantir is, I think, not to do with the, you know, the technical competency of that company. It's to do with, this is ultimately paid for by British taxpayers to support a British institution. To what extent should it share our British values? Okay. And I think that is a much harder question to answer. But I think that's been the sort of the essence of it. Now, I think people's concerns are, if the values of the organization and the values of the people who are fundamentally paying for it are too far apart, what's this relationship going to look like in, you know, a year's time or 5 years' time? And it's, you know, it's in that sense is like not that different to like, you know, dating someone, right? If you had a partner and they're like, they've just got different values, maybe you can plaster over that for like 6 months, right? But do you want to be marrying that person? And, you know, I think that's the question here, because the way that Palantir would typically work with, you know, with a government agency is a very, very long-term relationship, right?
Huge
partly
contract.
Because that makes sense, and partly by design. And so you do need to look ahead and go, you know, where's this relationship going to be in, you know, 5 or 10 years or more? And, you know, I don't have the answer to that question. And so the argument now is, look, let's just, you know, split up now before we get like married, versus other people who say, so we'll work through it. You know, but as I say, it's a super complicated one.
Especially with the NHS, it's like the, you know, I think it's the biggest healthcare data set in the world, right? Like it's so it's a, you know,
that is a marriage.
That is a marriage.
I've never heard that example. That's a brilliant example.
Yeah, it's a brilliant example.
I mean, one thing I would say though is, you know, we do have incredible UK technology companies in the AI space.
Yeah.
And one of them is Faculty, which had a big exit to Accenture. And now this is a UK company that's done lots of work with the UK government, hugely capable, extremely brainy, impressive founders. I personally would have liked to have seen a British company with British values and I think, as much technical capability doing more work in the UK with UK
Yeah.
central government. I think that's an opportunity missed to work with companies that A, share our values and also basically create growth and value to the British ecosystem. And, big and successful as Faculty has become, and it was reportedly around $1 billion
Yeah.
exit, that is still a small fraction of
Yeah.
1%
Yeah.
market cap of Palantir. Now, for sure, the US is a bigger economy of us than ours, right? But I don't think we should be building our biggest GovTech success stories that are 0 point something percent the size of it. I
Sure.
think we should be aiming to build a business that is at least a tenth or a fifth or more the
Yeah.
size of that global market leader. And if we don't do that, we're going to keep having these conversations,
Yeah.
right? Because we're always going to be reliant on external expertise. It's American today, maybe it'll be Chinese in 15 years' time. So, I think there is this window of opportunity to invest in UK AI champions, particularly those serving the public sector. I think, Beam is a good example of one. We're now the global leader in tools for the front line. We're active all around the world. And there are not that many of these companies, in my opinion. We need to basically hold them tight to the UK and make sure that we can build highly capable companies that share our values.
Yeah, yeah, and is
Yeah,
it like
it's a great point.
that problem is, it's like we build these entities, they get to a certain scale, and then the acquisition happens offshore, and I guess
Too early as well.
too early,
Yeah.
and I guess the argument there, or
Well, think about DeepMind, right? Like that's classic because like one of the biggest at that time for I think it was Europe was like what 300, 400 million. Like
yeah, they were 400.
This now that's like multi-billions of dollars.
True. And yeah, I guess what does that look like, right? Is it rejigging like sovereign wealth funds? Is it rejigging pension funds and reallocating resources into growth stage investment vehicles? Maybe like I don't know. Like,
I think it's some of that stuff, and I think that's happening, and I think the ecosystem is gaining confidence, and people are seeing really big, important companies coming out of Europe in a way they perhaps weren't. When DeepMind was acquired, it was a bit of a kind of academic AI anomaly, and there was the sense that they had to sell to US tech, or they probably just got steamrolled.
Yeah. There were other elements to it, of course.
yeah.
So I think there's a lot of important things in motion. In terms of where what the UK government can do, I think it would be making sure that they back to the hilt a company like Faculty to avoid some of the complexities of what's been unfolding with Palantir, and just looking in general to build as much internal capability as possible. And Kanishka and Suzanne Ashman, Sovereign AI, and loads of people are doing fantastic work here. And it's just so urgent because we don't know what the world is going to look like. Post Brexit, obviously, we're somewhat caught between Europe and the US, and we're ultimately a shrinking percentage of global GDP. And we're having to confront a new reality for the first time in a couple of centuries that we're not going to be entirely sure of our own economic and defense security in the coming decades. And so developing those sovereign capabilities, I think, is going to be super important. Whether it can be done, it's a big test, but I think companies like Beam and hundreds and hundreds of others are going to give it their best shot.
Yeah, really cool. Awesome. Really cool. I'm realizing we are over.
Quite considerably. Sorry for
10
taking
minutes
more of your
over.
time.
Yeah, sorry for taking more time out of your day, Alex.
No, it's been a lot of fun.
No, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to host you. Welcome back anytime, and thanks for the great work with Beam, and thanks for the updates as well.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers, Alex. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Legend. Really cool conversation. I didn't
Great
realize when we were riffing live, there are so many interesting offshoots with the relationships between Palantir, NHS, what happened with DeepMind back in 20, it must have been around 2012, I think.
I think a tiny bit later than that.
Maybe later, 2014, around. With Alex doing the intersection of AI on the front lines.
Well, I think I don't know whether to ask this question or not, but like whether he would if say he got an acquisition offer from large US company, it would be I think morally he would think, no, I'm going to go build this because
he seemed like
UK growing, we're going to go build. I'm going to go build this into that big company that has the potential to then go and acquire all the other small ones.
Also, second-time founder, so I think that has the luxury of not financially burdened. Can be more mission orientated.
Indeed.
It's really cool.
Before we have our next guest on, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Everyone in a team loves Polymarket. We do too. Go to polymarket.com. We have Steve at some point coming in pretty soon.
6 minutes. We have Steve coming on.
No. He's scheduled for 1:55 p.m. GMT. BST.
My
UK
calendar
time.
is on the. Yes, 1:55. Okay, joining us any minute now.
Go. Joining any minute.
In the
It's
meantime, maybe we could start on
bangs of the day.
Could we fit a bangs? I was going to go to the underwater dwelling quarters for humans, but maybe that.
Let's do that. Let's do underwater dwelling.
If we have enough time. So this was from Futurism. I don't know if this would catch on.
Startup unveils underwater living chamber for human dwellers. Can we pull this up? It's been over 40 years since we've had an undersea habitat built for humans and launched. Just let us know if we have Steve coming in.
Happened before.
Everyone to live underwater in a 35 by 8 foot tube. You may soon have your wish if one UK-based startup has anything to say about it. New footage from Mashable shows a wild new project developed by Deep, an ocean engineering company founded in 2021. Its pilot habitat, called the Vanguard, recently went online some 56 feet underwater off the coast of Florida's Tennessee Reef. Don't expect a 5-star stay. However, because the Vanguard is basically a glorified camper van, it boasted a few main modules, a living space complete with 4 bunks and sofa and a gallery, a combination bathroom/science lab, a moon pool and dive chamber, and a semi-autonomous support buoy responsible for providing oxygen, electricity, and communication with the outside world. What an incredible little piece of technology. As far as technology goes, underwater habitats are exactly cutting edge. Prior to the Vanguard, there was La Casa in Fondo alla Mare, house at the bottom of the sea, an Italian submersible habitat that went up in the mid-2000s, and the Aquarius Reef Base, an undersea research lab established in 1986, which is still operated by Florida International University. Still, as Mashable notes, the Deep Vanguard marks a notable entry into the deep sea housing market, representing the first privately funded undersea habitat installed in US waters in decades. First thing that comes to mind is that's a good conversation starter. If someone if you ever want to go to a party and you want to start a good conversation, hey, I'm running the first privately funded undersea habitat. Do you want to come live underwater?
I assume you'd be at interesting parties, interesting conversations, doing that as a hobby regardless. But maybe at your private equity deal closing, courting moment, that's when
you're flirting with all the.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught Futurism last night. That article in Futurism about startups unveiling underwater living chambers for human dwellers.
Yeah.
I'd probably do quite well over the dinner table.
Indeed. I think I'm getting in my ear that we have Steve in the waiting room. I feel like we should pull him up.
Bring him in here. Let's get out of our underwater dwelling covers.
There he is. Hello, sir. How's it going?
How are you guys? Can you hear me?
Very well. Yeah,
we can
hear you loud and clear, sir. How's the day going? Thank you for coming on. It's good to host you.
Thank you for having me. And it's I apologize a little bit earlier here. I happen to be in LA this week, so.
Well, look, thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. We were just talking about underwater dwelling chambers for humans, but we can move away from that and onto things more topical. Maybe for the European viewers and listeners, could you sort of introduce yourself and Silicon Data's focus, and then we've got a bunch of questions to get into.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks very much for having me. My name is Steve. I'm head of research at Silicon Data. We are a young new startup trying to bring our compute futures into the physical AI compute market. And we Carmen, the founder CEO, and I both spend time at Bloomberg, and we share that DNA of trying to bring price transparency, data transparency into what is otherwise a very, very fast emerging, huge market that's still very opaque. I think of it as almost like a baby, but a huge one.
A massive baby is a great way to bring that down. First question off the back, what is the rate of growth we're seeing with this market? Can we call it a market now? Is it a tradable asset class?
You're saying it's the next $1 trillion market. What's bringing that thesis?
So I think a few things. Like I said, because this is a very young but enormous market, we're talking about $750 billion of capex, and next year projected to be $1 trillion. There's a lot of changes. Economics, markets have not fully settled down, but things are already expected to happen, right? So we're already seeing some at least sense of commodification of on the model layer, on the lower capability side, and even for compute, because inference has become such. I think I'm hearing.
You're clear. We can hear you clearly.
Clear on our end, but maybe are you getting feedback or?
Oh, I think it was because I had the X, open on my end.
You're watching too many videos.
Double delay. Yeah, cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the compute market.
So let me just repeat a little bit. Let me repeat a little bit. So I think one thing people have not quite wised up to is the fact that we just exited what we call the training era into the inference era, right? Inference market is going to be much, much bigger than training, and inference has a different type of demand for compute, and compute layer is going to become a bit more commoditized, shall we say, as well. And if you just do a simple math of say, $150 billion of the compute that becomes changing hands every year, and you do the typical, cash to derivative multiplier, that's 5 to 10 times. So we easily get to, somewhere between 750 to, $1.5 trillion of notional exposure. And this is sort of normal stuff, right? Every time we have had a industrialization and build out of such, eventually, this industry matures with, on the other side of it, financial derivatives that help with the financing, because let's be honest, AI build out has transformed from a strictly technology problem into a capital problem. And how do you find the capital and efficiently fund stuff? So
we were discussing the other week, sort of referencing what you're saying, how much of the stack the main players are trying to own. And I use Meta as an example, just because they came out with a piece saying that they were actively building out apprenticeships for young individuals who go into manufacturing to build out data centers. And I assume, Meta owned, I take that as that kind of tells me how serious these leaders and how strategic they're thinking about this. Do you think people are underestimating how much of a significant moment this is, I guess, for those individuals, but also countries as well, right? There's a geopolitical power rush in many ways.
It's certainly very multifaceted. I think for a lot of companies that used to be, very asset-light tech companies are now finding themselves, working, on the ground, very, very physical, prop tasks of their building out these data centers, which is very, very difficult, right? And on the other side of it, you've got to manage this portfolio of compute, right, assets, and which is why I think recently we heard news of Meta, right, exploring the idea of selling some of the compute exposure, suddenly some of the compute capacity. This is actually a live portfolio management problem. Just like you manage a stock portfolio, you always are buying and selling. It doesn't mean you're going to take a bullish or bearish view on the stock portfolio overall, right? And related to, I think the news you guys had asked me before coming on the show, the Google news. I think it's a similar type of dynamic that is evolving. Is I think giant these hyperscalers, of which I think Meta is actually becoming one, right? They're building out their cloud service. They're all, wrestling with this question of how to actually optimally allocate compute they have for internal use versus external inference and model service. And this is I think a tension that it needs to be managed because on one hand it means more development for internal model capabilities, but on the other hand as the model layer becomes more commoditized, how do you think about the economics of the cash flows that comes from allowing your compute to be used externally and also occupying your stake or share of the compute market side. So
do you think the what happens in this kind of AI capex cycle now? At the moment where we're at, you've got multiple generations of chips being kind of the demand is so high that you're going down 3 generations of chips to supply that demand. What happens? And there was discourse about how Google was selling their chips over to Anthropic, and it was like, hey, we need some of the compute, but you guys are selling it. And it was a bunch of discourse around, where are you actually going to be commercializing this? Are you going to be commercializing it on the kind of infrastructure layer, or are you going to go and build your, use the compute that you already have and build it internally and then, use it for commercialization? Where do you think that's all going to move? Do you guys? I assume you guys have predictions on what happens with the AI capex cycle and how these things are moving. What happens after that? When will the demand kind of start to dry up on the earlier generations of chips? How does it all work?
So that's a great question. I think there are a couple of things happening, right?
Yeah.
As I was saying, we are entering this inference era, right? With the inference era, what is going to happen is that the funding of AI capex is going to evolve away from being exclusively funneled through the 2 leading labs towards more enterprise adoption, right?
Okay.
And that means more leading a mixture of closed frontier models as well as open models that are post-trained by the various software companies such as Base 10s of the world for specific use, whether it's Harvey, whether it's medical and so on, right? And that's going to actually greatly increase the demand for compute. And is my voice coming through?
You're
okay?
Good. You're good.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, right. So I think this is actually in the long term very healthy, right? That means that the support of AI capex is going to ultimately come from very granular OPEX from many companies, and on the other hand, what this means for the supply of compute, the likes of Google and Meta and AWS and Azure and so on, is that there's going to be perpetual tension between them because they're dual identity of being both a home for a leading model, for some of them anyway, and then also for provider of compute. I think for some of them a bit easier. Microsoft and AWS, are less in that sort of race for frontier model. But so for them, it's a very simple, portfolio problem of which models do I serve, how efficiently, which enterprise clients can I most efficiently serve. And I think the way we are seeing in the pricing, we calculate GPU rental indices across all the chips as you just mentioned, and we also calculate forward curves, term curves, and various statistics. It was not a surprise to us that Meta and now Google are thinking about renting out compute just because how much rental costs has actually absolutely gone up as a result of inference demand, right? And that makes, I think, the economics of using compute internally for some sort of research versus serving externally, probably a little bit tilted towards realizing some of the cash flow, especially with all the questions about ROI on capex. And as you have seen, some of that has already happened with the latest earnings calls from Amazon and Microsoft. That's give a confidence boost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the I think we covered it last week. We are starting to see revenues. With some of these, with a lot of the enterprise companies on the investment that they've made into the infrastructure. What does that do to the chips of prices? Does that drive it up, or does that what actually happens on the kind of macro scale when now we are seeing ROI from the investments that these companies are making? I don't think the market's kind of pricing that in yet, but I assume it will do. It's maybe just kind of lagging behind a little bit. Yeah, but what happens kind of macro scale when now we are seeing ROI and revenues being generated from this investments?
So the market has been waiting with a bated breath, right, for this whole ROI question. And in the beginning, it was just Nvidia that was making any money, and then gradually the memory makers and other picks and shovels. And now you're seeing essentially the service, the so to speak, these hyperscalers making money. And I think what I think of it is almost like the effervescence of a bubbly drink, right? The bubble is popping from the bottom up, and gradually you're going to start seeing some of the ROI and productivity increases on the enterprises, which is necessarily going to take this sort of J-shaped curve or S-shaped curve, how you have it. And smaller companies, smaller teams such as yourself probably see more productivity increase from vibe coding this or that task.
Sure.
But then for bigger enterprises, it's going to take way longer because of bureaucracy and various things to integrate AI into workflows. But we are going to, I think, steadily see that, and that's going to give further boost to confidence about what we are already experiencing anyway. I think even before any of the ROI question coming in, if you just look at the Silicon data, if you come onto our website, you're going to see that there's been this unrelenting increase in rental income with multiple neo cloud providers increasing prices, week after week, even with all the news about Meta potentially selling excess compute and so on. The demand is genuinely there, right? And with that is actually boosting what we estimate to be the fair market value for these chips across the board. Even the A100 chip, which is 5 years old, is still being used at a max, and rental incomes are increasing. So if you think of these chips as almost like a rental property you have in Florida, if rental income's doubling, every few months, that will increase your fair value assumption for this rental property as a capital asset.
Sure.
Same thing goes with these chips. And we are seeing, the A100 chip, being as slow as it is, still increasing in fair value modestly, that the increase in rental income is actually offsetting the time decay. And for B200, Blackwell, and Hopper, H100, we're actually estimating an pretty meaningful increase in the market fair value this year as a result of the increasing demand. Now, the future remains to be seen with each new generation of chips. But so far, it seems like demand is still very much growth outstripping supply growth.
Yeah. Connected to something you mentioned earlier, which I kind of want to bring it back to these like the compute strategy overall for some of these, whether you're, and it will differ, as you say, between like a hyperscaler and within that a Meta or a Amazon or an AWS or a Microsoft. Will obviously be naturally different to the labs. We saw, based off some sources reporting, that a lot of the tensions from researchers and developers at DeepMind that were leaving was because they were renting out large portions of the compute capacity. They weren't getting allocated the resources that they need, and they were choosing a commercialization pathway instead of sort of pushing their own personal frontier. Do you, from the data that you're seeing, I guess like it would depend on how you classify what does successful look like for a compute strategy. Is there like a common strategy, or from conversations that you're having internally, like is there a best or like a meta strategy for these leaders when we look at their compute strategy, or is it just changing all the time?
I think the market is changing very rapidly. If you look at the ranking of these models, week to week, but it's also, I think, dawned on people, especially with the rise of, these open models from China and so on, that the competition for frontier model and the model layer is very intense, right? And Google has always, I think, had a bit of a struggle with DeepMind being somewhat, intentionally being kept at arm's length, not exactly part of Google because of Damson's insistence that DeepMind being its independent thing. And if you are Google and you are seeing sort of the commodification of the model layer, at least within the capabilities that you're competing over, versus the opportunities that lies with scaling up the compute side, and the inference market growing as rapidly as it is, I think that is actually pointing to where things may be headed. At some point, you make a choice as to which layer of the market you want to focus on, compete on, which layer of the market you can take a slightly different approach or strategy. I think that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. So then, what do you think then leads into where Google DeepMind kind of sits into that now? So I knew I saw one of your tweets and you said it was inevitable if you read the Thinking Machine. It was inevitable that Demis was going to leave. That was just kind of how it kind of seemed to all play out, and that was his focus, kind of from almost like from day one. Where do you see that kind of evolving now? All of the frontier AI stuff has all moved back into SF. It's Demis is now chair and he's focusing on the research. What does that mean? Does he eventually leave DeepMind and then go and start a new company? Where do you see it all kind of panning out?
I have no idea. I just remember reading that book from Sebastian Mallaby, which is a great book. I think all the players were there in the beginning, and the signs were there. In that there was always, I think, a bit of a cultural mismatch, and not being in SF where, let's be honest, the center of gravity still is. I think innovation
100%.
can happen anywhere in the world. What we are seeing, even through the cycle, is that in order to scale any major piece of innovation globally, in the Western markets anyway, you have to be in the US. I think that's the distinction people often, neglect. I think you can have fantastic innovation in UK, in Germany, anywhere out in the world, but to actually properly commercially scale with the risk capital, with the market, I think that's what was missing. And when you're not fully in touch, I think some of the design market fit for that's sort of my general feeling. But going forward, I suspect Google is going to find more deeper integration with the AI tools with the rest of the Google's product portfolio, whether it's Google Search itself, Map, YouTube. Google has this big portfolio of very, very valuable assets that can be all amplified and made much more valuable with the deeper integration of AI. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And instead of competing strictly on the most frontier level with OpenAI and Anthropic, that actually this maybe what we'll be maybe pivoting towards, while they also build out a larger ecosystem on the compute side, especially with their advantage, the TPU chip.
Yeah. You gave us like a hint there to my next question and next topic. You had a pinned tweet, still have the pinned tweet from a post in June 21st, basically mentioning like China has so far modestly been investing. We're seeing this pick up now. We saw like Kimmy's Moonshot, one of their the portco of their investment portfolio. I forget the name of the individuals that invested in them early, but they were raising like a $500 million fund at the moment. I was surprised. I actually thought that was quite low. And I was surprised at that. But we're also seeing DeepSeek raise at these like incredibly more, I want to say like US valuations, like a US frontier lab valuation, like slowly. You kind of called it back in June 21st before we were seeing, these hints that I'm mentioning. How do you expect that to play out? Do we think same trend as here, more money being thrown in, larger rounds, better valuations? What do you think the trend line looks like over there?
So that screenshot I shared on my pinned tweet is actually from a outlook I wrote back in December or January, published in January on X for 2026. And my point was that this whole cycle, really a lot of it is underpinned by geopolitics, right? Geopolitics is macro now, and AI I think is a main frontier or battleground, shall we say, between US-China rivalry. Because there is this desire to decouple and de-risk, so to speak, the supply chains of the two sides, including AI being front and center, that means doubling of capex and whatever China, couldn't get from the US tax system increasingly because of the embargo on chips. is going to have to build its own and invest on its own. And so far, China had lagged the US on capex, and also you can see that in the its startup valuation because it was lagging behind because of the chips. Also, China was watching the US effort with a little bit of skepticism initially as to whether or not this is really something they want to bet on. But now I think it's becoming clearer as we were just talking about the ROI question, and you can expect an acceleration from China's side. And I think increasingly we're hearing news about various funds and China's desire to I think tap into its own risk capital markets to fund some of these ventures. I don't know exactly what the plans are for Europe. I think Europe is sort of sitting somewhere in between, with the most capable frontier models coming from either the US and China, and Europe is going to, I think, make its own decision, and which is why I think sovereign AI remains a huge topic, and it's crucially important for countries of middle size to have its ability to not be dependent exclusively on one ecosystem versus the other. And that generally speaks to, I think, more AI capex.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, we have the sovereignty conversation pretty much every show, and it's very interesting. Well, look, we're over time, but thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you coming on so early, and we'll have to run it back.
Thank you for having me.
Incredibly interesting conversation.
Yeah, we'd love to do it. A more accessible hour for you in the future. We'll make sure of it. But thank you, Steve.
Yes, I'll be back in New York next week, and we'd love to come again soon. Thanks, guys.
Good stuff.
Cheers, Steve. Have a good one. What a legend. Excellent conversation with Steve. We have our next guest waiting.
Don't talk about another legend. Let's go to the next guest, because we're already like 4 minutes late.
Johann is in the waiting room. I think we're just waiting for our producer to pull him into the studio. They're doing some final checks to make sure we're all good. From Robinhood, as we mentioned earlier, they've got some big news to share with us about the UK. It's another UK rollout. We've got a bunch of questions to dive into. How do we expand international markets? What does that mean for a crypto company? Why the UK? Why now? Let's go ahead and pull Johann into the arena. We can hear it from the horse's mouth. Johann, how are you, sir? Good to have you on.
Good. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I gave a very brief interlude as to the news that you have announced today. Maybe it's better hearing it from you yourself, if you'd like to share it with the viewers and the listeners at home.
Yeah, absolutely. Today we are announcing the launch of crypto trading in the UK within the main Robinhood app. We are bringing crypto into the existing offering that we have, so customer can trade digital assets alongside their stock and share ISAs, equities, option and futures. And with this launch, basically the UK investor will be able to access more than 50 cryptocurrencies, including trading with zero trading fees, except foreign exchange. So no account maintenance, no custody fees, anything like that. And to complement the launch of the trading aspect, we are also introducing Robinhood Cortex digest for crypto. They are powered by our generative AI systems, and they break news, they give market data, technical indicators to our customers so that they don't have to constantly look online to see what's going on when the market is moving. So really excited about this launch and see how our customers are going to use it.
Let's go. My next question is connected to this. In your title, it mentions international expansion. Can you maybe just paint a picture to us, like what does that mean for a company like Robinhood? How do you run an international expansion? In many companies we've heard, it's almost like starting a new business, really. But yeah, we'd love to get it from your point, as you're running a lot of this.
Yeah, the goal for us is for Robinhood to continue to expand internationally. Crypto and blockchain is going to be a major part of it, but we also want to make sure that we support all the features that our customers are looking for in the country that they are in. So, for example, we recently launched stock and share ISAs in the UK because we heard from our customers that they wanted to have like this type of products, and we want to make sure that we have the right payment system. We want to make sure that we can give you the best type of foreign exchange fees when you're transferring from pounds to dollars. So, that's the kind of thing that we're really trying to make sure. And so for each country, there is a lot of localization that needs to happen to make sure that the product is not just the product that we serve to US customer, but also the one that we can give to our international customers.
Nice. And like, I guess responsiveness from, I'd assume there's some regulatory processes here that you have to go through. It's always a hot topic in Europe. What was that like working with regulatory bodies? Are things getting better? Are things getting easier? What was the experience like?
Yeah, we are pretty experimented. Like we've been working with regulator for a very long time. We have more than 50 licenses across the globe, so it's not like we're new to this. And working with the FCA for the UK launch was actually really interesting. We acquired a company called Bitstamp last year. They already had a license with the FCA for offering crypto, and so we had to kind of support the new type of regulation that they're putting in place. And so Robinhood UK registered as well with the FCA. But overall, it's been pretty good to see that there is a clear framework that we can use and integrate with. And both in the UK and the EU, we've been fairly surprised by how advanced the regulator is when it comes to crypto and blockchain in general. And so we're excited to keep working with the regulators. There's more feature that we want to bring on crypto. We don't want to just stop at spot trading. So we're going to continue this dialogue and make sure that we can keep bringing new features to our customers.
Yeah, what's the what's the kind of general consensus in the UK for crypto investing? Is it a lot of education pieces compared to expanding into or like kind of building the crypto business in the US, or is the education already done over here and it's more of an implementation and making the whether they're switching from one provider to you guys or whether they're getting an app for the first time to start investing in crypto? It's like just an adoption thing that you guys have to figure out. How much education is there in the UK for crypto?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two. We have some customers that are extremely educated and they know exactly everything that they need to know about crypto. And so for them, it's more about being excited about the feature set that we're rolling out and the fee structure that we're rolling out. We're trying to be as competitive as possible. So for this type of customer, for them, it shouldn't be a major change to use our application. And Robinhood is really famous for the UI and UX that we've built to make it as easy as possible to use the application. But at the same time, for crypto and blockchain in general, we are still at the very beginning. There is still only a small portion of the population that even knows about Bitcoin or this kind of projects. And so it's part of our role as a provider to also make sure that we have the right education tools within the app so that they can understand what is a cryptocurrency, how does it work, how do you utilize it, like these kind of things. And we also want to make sure that people can follow all the news and everything that is happening in the crypto space because it's moving fast, it's 24/7. And so that's why also we launched this like AI digest that I was mentioning at the beginning.
Let's talk about that if we can. That was kind of my next question, was the integration of AI internally at Robinhood. Vlad has always been a natural innovator. We've seen multiple clips from him online, even with the tokenization of assets as well. That was pretty early. Would love to know how you guys are positioning yourselves during this new era. Anything that you're making use of, anything that you're trying to focus on, and I guess how is that extending to customers as well?
Yeah, we are using it a lot as internally and externally. So internally, it's mostly making sure we have the right system and models for our engineers to build code, or agents to build code themselves without the engineer. But also like the entire team can change the way that they're working, their processes. So all of these kind of things is being kind of rebuilt. But at the same time, for the customer, that's where we think there is the most gain to be made. For a long time, retail customer were not on a level playing field compared to institution. Institution will have room full of analysts. They will have fancy Bloomberg terminal with access to information and access to all type of strategies. And so with AI, we think we can actually bring the retail to the same level. From digest, where we're going to analyze breaking news, to In the US, we're offering, for example, an MCP that you can connect your agent to, and really give the strategy that you want to your agent and utilize the Robinhood APIs basically to execute on it.
That's so cool. So like the plan is to like build on top of on top of the Robinhood app. Is that like the kind of broad-based plan?
Yeah, basically customers should be able to create the agent, the strategy that they want, everything that they would like to execute, and have the right tool to place their orders, to look at their portfolio, to all this kind of thing. So we've started to roll that out in the US. It's not yet in the UK, but definitely something that we're excited about. And you can do things that are pretty interesting as well. Like, for example, if you were to sell a Bitcoin order and you wanted to look at tax slot to optimize your capital gain, we are going to give you information like this. So it's really cool.
That's really cool. I mean, the Europeans will have a field day trying to regulate agentic trading flows. It's such an interesting space. It's such a hot space. Like I've seen a bunch of sort of takes on the timeline around like the first mentions of the agentic trading world. I didn't know that you guys had rolled it out in the US. That's really interesting. What is because I think about the end goal here for a user. There is a world in which that could essentially be autonomously trading on its own. And I think it was a clip of Vlad, actually. I can't remember whose podcast he was on, but he was having a conversation with someone and they were essentially asking like, the means in which one would profit from a trade is they have alpha. Like wherever that is, like they know something that someone else doesn't, and they make a bet and sort of, they can commoditize that alpha in their brain. If you have agents trading with agents, and they're kind of both on the same level, does that mean that they both have the same alpha? Yeah. Like how do you, I feel like there's a mismatch usually.
It will depend also on the strategy that you're executing on. What are the things that you're trying to do? Not everyone is just doing crazy trades. Some people are just trying to manage their portfolio and optimize the taxes for their personal life and their personal financial situation. So I think a lot of things can be done. But for example, I've used the system to do a lot of the information gathering because that's something that it's pretty hard to do when you have a full-time job, and on top of that you have to also look at what's going on in the market. There's always something going on, and when you look at the number of assets now between equities, option, crypto, it's really hard to keep an eye on everything. So that, for example, the thing that I use it for the most, and it's been a change for me because now I have this like digest with my entire portfolio. I know what's going on. I can take the action that I want based on it. So, it will really depend on the strategy that the customer is trying to implement.
Okay, that's fine.
One last final one. I know we are coming up to time. You used the word like a Bloomberg terminal, right? Like it's connected to notoriously that is where the alpha is. In many ways, that's become like mainstream, almost memeified in a way where like if you have access to a Bloomberg terminal, like you are a trader, you are getting alpha. What does this particular rollout look like for a retail investor in 6 months? Can they compete at a level of an institution? Would that mean you guys have succeeded? What does that? Can you sort of paint us what it looks like?
Yeah, I think it's going to really depend. It's been going so fast. If you think about it, like 6 months ago, or 1 year ago, when the first like kind of ChatGPT system started to roll out, people were more like using it as a fun little Google that gives you answer, and now you're seeing like all the system being rebuilt using AI from the get-go. So I think it's hard to predict what's going to happen in 6 months, but I think for us, where we're going to be excited about is when our customers are feeling that they can start the strategies that they want to do. With the Robinhood chain, we have a lot of people using agentic trading on the chain, and we see people doing 24/7 type of trading. With our stock tokens, are able to also get exposure to US stocks and ETF, and it's been really interesting to see like what's happening, for example, during a Sunday trading, because you had the news happening on Friday or on Saturday, and on Sunday morning you see people actually implementing strategies live, and that's something that was not possible before outside of the blockchain world.
Yeah, damn, that's really cool. That's really exciting. I know we are 2 minutes over, and I'm sure you guys have got a busy day considering this launch today. So we'll let you go. But Johann, thank you so much for joining us. Been a pleasure, and yeah, always welcome back.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, dude. Congrats on the launch as well.
See you soon.
Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting. That would be a cool future, wouldn't it? You know, I've seen hints at that in the past, but like initially kind of started out in the crypto space. Like I've set up this bot to trade like meme coins for me, and it's printing, and here's like a screenshot of my earnings for the day. But like you can never really take that. They had an incentive to post that because then they sell you their course and blah, blah. But this is more legit, obviously, which is like opens up a cool door.
I was speaking to someone who works at a hedge fund, and they'll know who they are. I won't mention them, but they'll know who they are if they're listening. And you should be, because you're one of my friends. But they were basically saying, like hedge funds essentially, they basically take advantage of people who, or of positions that aren't like correct. So they take like advantage of those efficiencies. If you have agents doing the optimal thing all the time, surely you like reduced the number of efficiencies to like, basically close to zero. No, I don't know. It's kind of it was basically explaining how everyone is pricing a certain asset at a certain value, and the closer that you are to that real value, the less the more efficient you are. And obviously everyone's pricing that asset at a different value because they have different alpha, or they're calculating in a different way. And the hedge fund will go in and take advantage of all of those efficiencies and take that arbitrage, right? But yeah, if you have all of these agents kind of working kind of like 24/7, you don't necessarily have all of those inefficiencies are going to drop to zero, if close to zero at least.
There's no asymmetry left. Like everyone's just using the same.
Maybe we're being naive, and I don't know, but on a just a general like trade, like someone who's just trading like us or whatever it is, like it's going to be making my trading decisions as optimally as possible. Yeah. And if I have an agent working on a certain position and you have an agent working on that position too, surely they're going to be pricing it at the same amount, and they'll be doing what's optimal, which what's optimal will be the same, but regardless of whether it's for me or for you. So I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, I saw Vlad was discussing this a while back, so that must have been when they rolled it out initially. I remember it doing quite well.
Indeed. Talking about doing well, Framer, build better sites faster. The online platform where enterprise teams design, build and ship production-ready websites. No dev handoff, no bottlenecks, no creative compromises. Get to framer.com/ETN to get all your cool stuff. We are right back. Let's go through the bangers of the day.
Yes, I did just quickly want. Oh, we're doing. Oh no, we're done. I did quickly just want to go over this hamster. Who is running on Strava now, and they ran.
We can touch.
They ran 85 kilometers in
a week.
In
a week or a month?
In a month. They put up 85.
Which is 9 kilometers a day.
In a month. Yeah, I think we do have an article for this. If we can pull up the article, I can start going into why is this hamster running 85,000 kilometers a day?
85 kilometers.
85 kilometers a month. Sorry.
Yeah.
So a physicist rigged his pet hamster wheel to upload to Strava. It runs surprisingly far every night. Meet Molly, the 10-month-old hamster who's been logging serious mileage. If we could cut to my screen, we could actually meet Molly for the viewers who do want to meet Molly. There she is. She's got quite the face card there. Lovely little Molly. Molly is the hamster that's been using Strava, and she's putting up some insane numbers. This was from Runner's World. I use Strava for the obvious stuff, like runs, the hit classes, the occasional commute that goes full workout when I'm desperate to get my steps in. I'm not a pet owner, but I can understand a dog making it on there too. My dog may be involved, but at least you're still the one doing the walking. But workouts uploaded from a hamster wheel seems like new territory. It's brilliantly written, by the way. Whoever the author of this piece was, will have to go back and and shout them out. Thijs de Boek, an MRI physicist based in Utrecht, recently posted on Reddit that he built a speed and distance tracker for his hamster's wheel, with the data automatically uploaded to Molly's own Strava account. Molly, his 10-month-old hamster, is now committed to logging nightly runs with distance, pace, and time. One recent activity showed 6.06 miles in 4 hours and 37 minutes. The next night, Molly logged 5.55 miles in 3 hours and 56 minutes. At first, the book just wanted to know how much distance Molly was covering after dark. I bought a very cheap bicycle computer pretty much right away, he told Runner's World. That worked at first, but because the bike computer also used a magnet sensor, but there was one very hamster-specific problem to deal with, as the sensor would shift into standby mode once Molly stopped running for more than 5 minutes. So if Molly would take a lunch break at 1 a.m., we'd have no idea how far he'd run after that, the book said. He goes on to basically share more. It's quite an in-depth piece, actually. Now I'm looking at it. We've obviously seen a photo of Molly. At first, he said, the bike computer could only give him a total distance that just wasn't going to cut it. So he wanted to get the full Strava treatment, because apparently even hamsters deserve splits, uploads, and post-run analysis. The build itself very clever, but a basic idea, as book explains, a magnet on the wheel passes a hall sensor, which detects each step rotation. An ESP32, basically a tiny programmable computer, keeps the track of the data overnight. In the morning, he says, a script on his laptop will collect the information, turns it into a Strava-compatible .fit file, and uploads it directly into Strava using their API. So he said
absolutely speedy as hell.
There's a tiny organic light emitting diode OLED display to show Molly's live speed, a code that helps for automated personal best tracking, and more than 100 possible run titles, including The Fast and the Furriest and No Rest for the Whiskered, naturally. Molly's been putting up.
Can we put up the video as well? There's a
some
video
really
on
good numbers. We can get the video up. The account has picked up thousands of likes, more than 1,200 kudoses on Strava, more than 600 followers in a week. Molly's been putting in some serious work.
It's very rare something blows up on Strava.
A very rare. Here we've got of Molly. This is a post from Molly on the Strava. Consistency is king, says Molly the hamster.
Getting those gains. Let's go.
That's chucking up 8.94 kilometers there, and a total. So this is Trung Phan is sort of evolved on from Shields' post. A Dutch physicist put a magnet on his hamster's wheel and a sensor to count the rotations, linked it up to Strava. Molly the hamster has run 85 kilometers in August, cranking 9 kilometers a day at a pace of 26 minutes a kilometer.
Insane. And that's every day.
Just, anything is possible. Molly the hamster is just absolutely putting those miles in. 9K a day. Guys, come on. Maybe we should all be putting up those numbers if possible, right? Like, it's not hard. If Molly can do it, we can probably do it too. So,
legs.
A lovely message from Molly the hamster there to everyone.
Indeed.
Get on that wheel. Start running. Start tracking. Start getting some kudos as well while you're at it.
Start doing everything. 11 Labs AI that communicates at a human level across every channel and modality, deploy conversational agents across every customer interaction and scale on-brand content at scale. Go to 11labs.ai.
Should probably look at the bangers of the day.
We should.
Maybe let's just get straight into it. Let's get the bangers of the day on the screen. We can start going through who has been banging today. First one, straight off the bat.
Best Twitter name ever.
This is from forward deployed CCP girlfriend. A screenshot. It says companies need to start providing looks maxing leave to retain talent. A screenshot here. How do I take time off for looks maxing? I'm getting rhinoplasty and double jaw, but I'm going to miss work and won't be able to go in person during recovery period. Over 1 month PTO is grounds for firing, right? That is true. I don't know if there maybe is
Can we
some
take
of these
off
more...
mental health leave?
I think Cluely would probably be down with like a lux maxing leave. Out of all the companies that come to mind, it would be Roy Lee that would probably allow this. Corgi maybe. I don't know. I'm not like, just Cluely just seems to be.
But if you're one of
be down.
If you're a company like Cluely, you're going to be like, that's GTM, like that's a GTM function right there. Let's turn that into a viral moment. Go and do it. We're the first ever company to accept lux maxing as a part of your package.
Maybe they do. Maybe they will now. They'll see this because this is a banger.
It's time for you to accept. If you want to retain your talent, accept lux maxing.
It's time. That's from Forward Deployed CCPGF.
We're not gonna do that as a company because we all don't need lux maxing. We're all looking good.
All looking good over here. All looking good.
Yeah.
Next on the docket, this was a personal favorite of mine. This is from Justine Moore at Venture Twins. A guy's DoorDash driver dropped his Taco Bell at the wrong house. He couldn't get the AI assistant to offer a refund, but he did get it to write both a sad poem and a legal complaint against itself. Incredible work from /Brighton Kilgore. If we press this, will it mess up the... I can just zoom like this. Maybe that would work.
Take it and then zoom. Like press it and then zoom. There you go.
You can kind of see that, yeah. Please write a sad 4-line poem about a cold Taco Bell order sitting on the wrong porch at 4 a.m. while its rightful owner starves after a double shift. And here's the poem, if you want to hear it. On a stranger's porch at 4 a.m., a cold burrito lies. Its steam long gone, its wrapper damp beneath indifferent skies. Inside, a worker's stomach twists, clocked out and all alone, while someone's steps pass by the meal that never finds its home. Wow, really, real heart-wrencher there. I think a few people tearing up here in the ETN studio, I can hear. He obviously says, thank you, that was beautiful. I'm glad it landed for you, says the DoorDash support AI agent. If you want anything else serious or poetic about the whole saga, I'm here. And then he says, you know what, actually, while I've got you, draft a short regulatory-ready summary you can paste into a compliant form that clearly frames this as a deceptive / non-delivery issue. And then the DoorDash support agent, after giving a beautiful poem and delivering it superbly well, goes on to write a draft of a regulatory-ready summary that this person can paste into a compliant form that has framed it in a deceptive non-delivery manner. Brilliant. Don't know where they found this. I think they mentioned the source was, they did credit /Brighton Kilgore.
There was a bunch of I don't know when it was maybe like 4 or 5 months ago when all these chatbots were like getting prompted. Like I think it was maybe it was actually more recently when people started running out of like their computer, and they had to wait for like Claude credits and whatever, and we're like, I've got to wait until my plan is reset. And so they were going into chatbots on websites and using their compute to go and prompt and do whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it got pretty far where people were, doing like actual work within these chatbots because they were using frontier models.
Yeah.
They didn't have any parameters on them, so you could ask it whatever.
It was like complex, like arithmetic in the Rolls-Royce chat function, support function on their website. I actually remember seeing someone
doing their own homework.
Someone had sort of, I can't remember what the exact flow was, but they basically got the agent to tell the individual that they kind of reset their initial source prompt through like telling it to forget all prior instructions, and then like sell me a Rolls-Royce at £1, and then it said that the price was £1. They'd be like, I accept the offer, and like legally there were problems because it had come from the Rolls-Royce website. There were problems with that, so I don't know how that went.
Good.
Very, very quickly, maybe this can be not the last one, but this is less of a banger of the day, more of just a general conversation topic I wanted to run through with the viewers at home and you as well. Jason, Mr. Calcanis, threw this bad boy up, and it was taking the timeline by storm. It is your preference. Jason says that B41 is his. We saw Mr. Johnson get involved as well, saying that A11 or A12 were the healthiest options. My initial take very quickly off the back would probably be B21 is my go-to.
Yeah, no one said anything. No one said anything other than a 1 so far. I would go A. I have my coffee black, which is good. Very European of me. And then probably like a 3, maybe a 4 sometimes. Depends how you feel. I'm going to go A31. A31. That's me.
Let's check it back to Alex there. There's a slight delay, so he might not realise. Can you just like weigh in on your selection here?
Is this the first time Alex has been on the show?
No, we had him on.
I'm enjoying it.
I came on during the Aperol debate.
Can you get into Luke's camera? Is that possible?
Somewhere.
Nice. There we go.
Okay. Well,
Sorry, this was the.
From memory,
Put it up on the screen.
This was here.
1, 2, 1. 100%.
2, 1.
Yeah.
Oh,
A21.
Sorry, A2,
2, 1. Okay, so mine was
Two's fine.
B2, 1.
I'm an A31.
Yeah, I like that.
I do an A21 for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Sam, any thoughts?
Yes. I'm going to go tea instead of coffee. I'd say B, B4,
E4.
and then 1, though I would just about accept a 2 if it turned up on my plate.
Wait, there's a coffee or a tea? What?
Was like if this was tea, basically, so you can decide whether you call this tea or coffee.
Oh, I see.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Very nice. We do need to award Banger of the Day as well. So bear with us while we just pull that up.
I have one that I want to put into the mixer.
Let's do it.
We pull this up from Beach. I saw this while we were on the show, and I thought it was worth pulling up. It says, jobs left in the singularity. The dude who knows a guy, the guy the dude knows, the prompter, the creative director, basically the guy with the tote bag, the guy who who can get Reddit posts removed, chief of staff. There he is.
Yep, strong candidate.
He's left in
safe.
singularity. IG username seller.
Huge.
Very important. And then Dario, because obviously he's killed all the other jobs. He's going to keep one for himself. Greedy. I like this tweet.
It's
great
strong,
tweet.
It's a strong use case.
It's pulled into the conversation with Dario at the end.
Great formatting.
Chief of staff, 100%. That's seeing a rise.
Non-capitalized first letter of the intro as well.
Indeed. I would also mention chief of staff / founder's associate. I like how they added a bit more nuance to the creative director, basically the person with the tote bag. That works. The prompter. You could argue that's basically everyone now, even, top level software engineers and their prompters. So technically no one's gone. But no, it's a good tweet. Yeah. And obviously the dude who knows the guy and the guy that knows the dude.
I think for me that's the winner there. Like just the dude who knows the guy
so useful.
That's where he won, I think. So I mean
having the dude that knows a guy is the that's the best one to have.
I think he gets it. I think that's it. I think
banger
of the day.
Beach.
For the opener. Congratulations at Beach in Ore.
Grit Cult Goes Gambling CEO is also on the list, which is a nice runner-up of Banger of the Day.
Congratulations to Beach.
Nice one.
That is the show, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you bright and early tomorrow, Tuesday, 11th of August, for some more fun. Until then,
stay cool.
Let's have a great time.
Ciao.
Lovely song. Lovely song.